I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pastor. Hey Dave, I'm thinking about doing another revolution. Do you want to join up? I might need some help with organising the pamphlets though.
Pop Culture Pastor.
So I refuse to deny that young, whiny, brash Luke Skywalker from the original trilogy couldn't have grown up to be old, whiny, bitter Luke that we saw in The Last Jedi. I know that's a problem for a lot of Star Wars fans.
That's legit, because he whines nonstop in the original trilogy, and he whines and broods in the Last Jedi as well as he did back then.
And their argument is always that, like, oh, he was awesome in Return of the Jedi. Like, you may think you remember it that way, but that is not how it went down. He is not the hero of the Return of the Jedi. He's going to die. He gives himself up. He says, I won't fight you. Dad, please. That's about how he ends Return. It's Anakin. Anakin's the hero.
Yeah.
He saves the day. Luke was going to just die. He's just going to give up. So why don't you think old giving up Luke in The Last Jedi isn't an honest representation of where he could have been?
We have a biblical model. His name's Jonah. He whines, and he would just rather die. So,
Anyways, welcome to Pop Culture Pastor.
I have no clue. I mean, is Return of the Jedi, is that the one with the big white things that are stomping through there? What's
No,
that?
that's Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know.
We've never had a guest lose all geek cred quicker than DJ lost his cred.
Yeah. What kind of cred am I losing?
Geek cred.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen longer than 15 minutes of one of those movies. Of any of them.
There you go.
But I had a youth group one time. I had a room that was nothing but a dry erase board as the wall, and they explained the whole thing to me on the wall all the way around the room. They were drawing, and it was like a long timeline. Yeah, we were up all night.
This is Pop Culture Pastor, a podcast about, pop culture. And Dave and Cody, we're your hosts as usual. And we have a special guest. Do I call you? Well, how do you like to be called in like a public setting? Are you Minister DJ Dangerfield?
Yeah, probably so.
Or public speaker DJ Dangerfield?
Minister DJ Dangerfield. That's fine.
Minister.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I never thought about it.
DJ Dangerfield's here. He's a pastor.
Am I the
public
first
speaker.
guest?
Oh, no. Yeah, we've had him on. You're the most distinguished guest, probably. Like, you have a lot of things you do, I think.
Yeah. Well,
So
whatever.
Name it and claim it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just under 3 minutes on the name it and claim it. Wow, we made it almost 3 minutes into the episode before Cody uttered his stolen catchphrase. DJ is here specifically because the main subject for today's podcast is documentaries. And I don't know anybody who's watched more documentaries than DJ.
It's sad, but true.
DJ loves documentaries. I like him too. I don't know why. When it comes down to it, I don't choose to watch them enough, which I should.
So I copy and paste all my documentaries. So I track every documentary I watch. I have little notes about them.
You have a flow chart?
Yeah. Well, no, but I have a little list and when I watched it and what I was thinking about what I watched and da-da-da. And I copied and pasted over to my iPad. And it's well over 200 and something.
Wow.
I wish that I would
Since
have
we started
done
doing all
that.
the subscription stuff, yeah.
Because, like, coming up with my list tonight, that literally I'm like, oh, yeah, I watched this. Oh, what was this one about? Oh.
You had to go down memory lane?
I do the same thing with movies. When I go to the movie theater, I take a picture of the ticket and I put it in a photo album file that says movies and 2022 movies. And I can kind of, it'll ring the bell to me and I kind of remember who I was with and all that kind of stuff.
Like, look, you are a geek. That's very geeky. It's like geek scrapbooking.
Yeah.
Had to store it in my mind palace better for
Your mind palace.
future generations to know what I watched.
That
So,
sounded communist. I don't know about that.
You should have said it with a Russian accent then. That would have been awesome.
Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch's, has the mind palace.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
So-
Absolutely. That's good stuff.
Well, we'll get back to the documentary discussion in a little while. We start off every episode, DJ, with just a little roundup, some quick hitters of some pop culture news, things making news out in the pop culture world. Burt Reynolds' 1977 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. The car made popular by the actor's iconic film Smokey and the Bandits.
Good stuff.
Recently went up for auction at Barrett-Jackson, and it sold for close to $500,000.
I can believe it. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's crazy for us, though, DJ, who've been alive long enough to remember when those cars were out roaming the streets.
Well, 1977 was the year I was born, so that's an interesting date there. So, yeah, that's 44 years ago.
My friend had one in like 1990, and it wasn't worth near that much. But it looked just like Smokey's car.
Such an iconic time in TV. Everything was changing. Television was becoming more prevalent. We're getting close to the term blockbuster. Star Wars is about to come on the scene.
Yeah.
It's starting to become okay to really go in on the TV. So Burt Reynolds came in at just the right time. Iconic pop thing going on. What was the other movies that he was in?
Cannonball Run?
Yeah. Cannonball Run with the Dom DeLuise or whatever his name was. That's good stuff.
If the Hollywood Reporter reported tomorrow that they were remaking the Cannonball Run movies, I'd be the happiest dude on earth.
And it's so funny because me and my wife went back and watched one this summer off Amazon Prime. I actually bought it instead of renting it because I thought I'm going to watch this again. I did not realize how inappropriate it was. I didn't remember that. It threw me off. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was back in those days, racial jokes were okay. So you got Sammy Davis Jr. They're making so many, it would not be on right now.
Well, and then every so they didn't have PG-13 back then.
Yeah.
So R movies weren't like the R movies we have today. So like you would have a lot of movies that were basically mostly what we would consider PG-13 movies with just a random topless girl here and there. That was how like the 80s
I was
went.
so thrown off by that. I was like, oh, a lot of times you think if you go back, you're safe.
Yeah,
The older it is. You're not.
No, not in the 80s for sure.
No, I was like, whoa, just the inappropriate comments alone. They made comments about Middle Eastern people in that movie. There's a fake Middle Eastern prince in there, and there's just so many homophobic.
Jackie Chan's in that movie?
Yeah, there's a lot
Cultural
of
appropriation left and right.
Yes, it's like a ton of stuff in there that I don't think on either side we would be able to survive. It's
Yeah.
I forgot, but I loved it. I mean, Cannonball Run was, as a kid, for some reason in my mind, I loved it. I remember loving it.
It was worth it for the credits bloopers.
Oh,
Alone.
yes, at the end. That's what I'm saying. 'Cause, that's how he laughed. Yeah, that's how he laughed. Yes, that's true. Very good. Man, 1977. Right on.
That tickled my throat.
There you go.
I'm like, that car better have come with an autographed picture by Burt Reynolds with his mustache.
It is
in the photo.
This isn't. It's not the actual car that was used in the film. It was it was the car that Burt Reynolds was personally gifted as a thank you for his work on the movie.
Okay, so he owned it.
He owned
it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that.
I want the title. At least give me the title.
Do you know Smokey and the Bandit was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Film Editing?
Oh, well, that's not what I thought.
And Sally Field, who looks so cute in that movie.
Yes.
Which is weird to say now because she's like
or
80
adorable.
something.
Adorable, yeah.
She won. She had a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress for that.
I can believe it.
We don't have Best Song in a movie on that one. Eastbound Down?
Eastbound
That
Down.
might not have been a category yet.
Rolling up.
I don't know.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Is that Jerry Reed?
Yes.
We got a long way to go.
It is.
Short time to get there.
I still listen
Oh
to
man,
that.
the 80s are going to come back in here today.
Man, that's good stuff. I love outlaw country. That's good stuff.
Oh wow. Yeah, that was good. Good memory laner there to start off with here.
Waylon's good for the soul, man. Lil Waylon does good for your soul.
Yeah.
This is like, that's just such an interesting thing.
Dave looked at me like, you're not allowed to say that, DJ.
Well, no, I was just thinking like everybody listening to this podcast would be like, I was pretty sure this guy was black.
Yeah.
He sounds black, but he just said he likes Waylon Jennings.
Well, my stepdad was
and
white.
you're interesting like that.
My stepdad was white. And
country.
he was the first, my real dad, who I have a great relationship before he passed away. I had a great, as I got older, me and my dad's biological father's relationship began to really bloom. But when I was a kid, my dad was more absent than probably he should be. My stepdad was a white man from Henrietta, Oklahoma. He went to school with Troy Aikman. And so he listened to Hank Williams and Conway Twitty and Randy Travis and Waylon and so nice. And I spent a lot of time with him. He was a roofer. I roofed homes. And so I love if you come to my house on a Saturday morning, that's probably Saturday mornings. My wife and I are dedicated to outlaw country. So Willie Nelson,
Nice.
a little bit of George Strait, but I really love outlaw country. And some of those new guys like Chris Stapleton, some of them guys are really good too. So I love outlaw country.
Just goes to show.
Yeah.
You can't judge a book by its cover. They're geek. They're pop culture.
If I can go,
you know.
if you let me go deeper, without African Americans, there is no outlaw country. So there's so much. All of American music is rooted in Black African music, and so not classical like Bach, and that's what Europeans were singing was classical, like Bach and all that stuff. And what's my man's name? Beethoven. But when you start talking about music like jazz or rock or the blues or country is nothing but the blues sang through your nose. That's all.
Yeah.
It's written about, and that it comes from that. I took Matt Oliphant in March to Nashville, and we went to the National Museum of Black Music. And when he went in there to the bluegrass, and he found out that the banjo came from Black people, he spent more time in there than I did in the whole thing, and he just came out there. He was shook. He could not believe.
Matt, for those listening, is our producer of our podcast.
Yes,
He's our editor. Yeah.
So I love all music, and you can hear African American influence in all. Willie Nelson's favorite artist is Ray Charles. Willie Nelson. So
Makes sense.
Yeah. So you can hear it. When you listen, and their vocalization and their ad-libbing, man, it's good stuff. I love it.
I was just telling my oldest daughter found my old CD case today. She was like, "Can I paint these?" And I was like, "I don't care. They're worthless." and she was like thumbing through it, and I was like, "Oh, that there was the first CD I ever bought. That's The Predator by Ice Cube."
Yeah, it's good stuff. Gosh, that was such a big deal. Wasn't that album such a big deal?
Oh man, it's a great album.
It was such a big deal. So yeah, I love music though. I just love it.
Yeah. Speaking of music, if we can foray into Christian music, we don't do that often here on the pod.
Yeah.
But a guy, I saw this headline and I thought, well, DJ knows this guy, so maybe we'll talk about this. A couple weeks ago, Lecrae, Christian rapper Lecrae, although I'm not sure he likes to be called Christian rapper. Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's done with that.
Done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rapper Lecrae
Yeah.
tweeted, "Once upon a time, I thought I was done with Christianity, but the reality was I was just done with the institutional, corporatized, gentrified, politicized, culturally exclusive version of it." And apparently he lost some shows.
A couple.
Yeah, and he tweeted about that. I don't think anybody would have known, but he tweeted.
I'm so victimized.
He tweeted
it's so hard
that he lost a show or some shows because of his tweet, and then he tweeted "point proven."
Why does he have to say I lost shows? What's the point? I don't, and I relate to that in my early days of ministry, like, oh DJ, I'm so sorry. There are still people out there like that. It's almost like you're eliciting some type of sympathy, compassion response because, and we're talking about Christianity now. So we're talking about kingdom citizenship. If you're really abiding in Christ, you truly are saying you're in Christ. Because doesn't the writer say, act justly, love mercy? So where's the mercy to the people that are canceling their shows because their heart is jacked up and they don't know what they're doing? They just don't. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yeah. And I just don't feel like that's the heart of what he's posting. And he thinks he's doing justice, but you're supposed to do justice and love mercy at the same time. And that's a paradox. Very difficult, very humble, very much Holy Spirit led and Christ centered. And if you want to sit here and try to tell me that Lecrae, how do I say this without, I don't know who's going to listen to this, is sitting there and that's a Holy Spirit driven post.
We have
I'm going to be
tens and
judgmental.
tens of listeners, DJ.
I'm going to be pretty judgmental.
But here's the thing. It's only a paradox if you're using justice in the form of our cultural justice.
Absolutely.
Not biblical justice. Because biblical justice has nothing to do with our justice.
Even if it is a paradox, that's not bad. The kingdom is nothing but a paradox.
No, I know. I understand that. I guess
there's nothing wrong with it being a paradox, even if you're looking at it with godly justice. Because you do have a humanity and you do get tired and you do not, nobody wants to be a walking mat. And so you do get tired of it. You do get tired of that. I get cultural fatigue where I get tired of explaining myself. I get tired of being the black consultant when people take me out to lunch and want to pick my brain about how to handle the 3 black people that live in Chanute because they feel some kind of guilt. But instead of wrestling with their guilt, they take me out to eat and they want to hear me tell them that they're okay. Yeah. You know, I live in Thayer, Kansas. Take me out to eat and tell me I'm okay. You're weird. You know what I mean? So, and you won't believe how much that happens to me. So you can become frustrated. You can become, how much longer I got to do this? But at the same time, it's like, if you love mercy, justice looks totally different.
Yeah. Well, it looks like reconciliation.
Absolutely.
Not revenge.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that a lot of these people, that's their goals. That's just me on the outside looking in. I'll just say that.
Like, I kind of wish that Lecrae would have looked at his friend Derek Miner's post, because he had a post recently that said something about broken people hurt broken people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would put it in perspective.
Well, don't we all relate to if somebody does something wrong, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Yeah.
Lecrae and all these movements, every single one of them suffer from pretending like they don't understand why they're enemies. Racism is very pathological and very programmable. Mm-hmm. Either they've been programmed or it's pathology. I'm not saying it's okay, but it's very normal. And to pretend like there are all these wonderful people that are walking around this planet that I just don't understand how somebody could possibly be racist. Come on now.
Yeah. Well,
so let's not pretend when you're trying to work through these things. I'm going to hold a mirror in front of my face while I hold you accountable about how you're treating others. I'm going to put a mirror up, and I'm going to make sure that I'm having that conversation, understand that prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. And I just think when we're talking about these things, especially if we're talking about it from a kingdom synod's vantage point. Now, you talk about public policy, you don't have to do that. I understand politics is a competition. I'm not expecting that from politicians and that such. But we're talking about Christians. And Lecrae, who had and I'll tell him to his face, who had the opportunity to be an anointed prophet of God, absconded that for the civil rights movement. And the black church has lost so many leaders to the civil rights movement. That's just my humble opinion. And I don't care if that goes I will say that on Fox, CNN. I don't feel like God is calling black leadership to a civil rights movement. Wow. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that.
And here's the thing. You were talking about a mirror, and like, listen, yeah, Cody and I, we're the opinion nobody wants to hear right now anyways, because we're white males. But sometimes
I get to talk more.
If I could say something that I'm trying to come from a balanced place, because first and foremost, when I see Lecrae or anybody talking about these movements, these things, I first and foremost want to say, look, I'm hearing your pain. I get it. But
he's also not expressing pain. He's saying he's more mature.
All right, but let me finish here.
Okay.
Here and because I'm getting to that. When you say evangelicals and you throw them all under the bus, and I'm like over here going, brother,
yeah,
we're not all like, the old crusty white guy in the Southern Baptist executive chair saying that you can't be a part of the presbytery or that women can't pastor. We're not all that guy.
Yeah.
Like, but you're trying to make it like that. You're using the same mental processes that racism comes from.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
That's not going to fix anything.
Blessed are the peacemakers, and peacemakers get hit by both sides.
Mm-hmm.
if you're a true peacemaker and you're an evangelical, you're going to have brothers and sisters who are going to question your morality and whether or not you really love the gospel. And you're also going to have atheist friends who think you're probably a little too brainwashed. And you're going to catch arrows from both sides. And if you're not catching, if the only arrows you are catching them is from other, you stop being a peacemaker. You stop being concerned about reconciliation. And if he's more mature, he can handle the arrows. If he's saying, I have more knowledge about what women need, what blacks need, what all these people groups need, and not only do I have more knowledge, I understand who's the oppressor and who's the oppressed, then you have some sense of maturity and some sense of knowledge. And based on what he's saying, if you guys had better knowledge and understood better, you'd understand this better. So that's maturity. And he's saying he's more mature, but then 10 minutes later, he's posting a tweet that says, I'm not as mature. I can't handle this. And I just don't. Blessed are those who are persecuted. I mean, that's what comes with what we signed up for. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about kingdom citizens. Now, if you're a politician and some of those other people, AOC, I don't have a standard for them. But when you say you're a Christian leader, and when you say, I used to be non-Christian, but now I'm back in the house of God and all of that, then you're held to that standard, bro, whether you, like, just because. So when Jesus separates the goats and the sheep, he just talks about all these rumors of wars. And he didn't get to. You don't get to go, well, I was a goat because life was so hard and people. No, he is expecting you to still be a sheep. Mm-hmm. So I just think, you know this. Remember that song by Paula Cole, "Where Have All the Cowboys Gone"?
Yeah.
It's like, where have all the leaders gone? It's like, where are they?
They're CEOs of Fortune 500 companies.
It's like
they're the ones who really run the country.
Yeah, absolutely. You're probably right. It's just like
they all work for Big Pharma. Let's not go there. Let's get back to pop culture before I get myself in trouble.
Yeah, you lose all that sponsorship. Today's broadcast is sponsored by Pfizer.
Today's broadcast is sponsored by nobody. Do you guys like the TV show Justified?
Yes,
I didn't get
to.
I never finished it.
Oh, I have the last season. On DVD or Blu-ray, if you want to borrow it.
Something happened. I stopped watching it. The guy who played that, it was also on Sons of Anarchy. He's on both shows. He's a phenomenal. What's his last name?
The bad guy?
No, actually he's a good guy. I guess, and just the main character. What's his name?
Oh, Raylan Givens?
No, the bad guy. Yeah, my bad.
Walton
Goggins. Walton Goggins. Yeah.
He's something else.
He is.
He's something else.
Phenomenal. I forgot he was in Sons.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to talk about that.
Yeah,
because you can't talk about that on this.
No. Yeah.
Don't even investigate. Well, don't investigate it. Don't even look it up.
Yeah.
No, it's bad.
I've been dying to talk about Bridgerton. I'm just kidding.
I've never watched it.
I haven't watched
Murray
that
watched
either.
it. My boy Murray. I can put his business out there. Murray would talk to me about it, but I never watched that.
No, like in Justified, when he has his biblical commandos, like he starts his own like.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Straight beast. Gosh.
Timothy Oliphant plays U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens. He's coming back for a limited series, Justified, City Primeval.
I'm ready for it.
Okay.
Coming on FX. The new limited series is adapted from an Elmore Leonard novel, who wrote the original book that it was justified on, or that it was based on. It was called City Primeval: High Noon in Detroit. It's set 8 years after Givens leaves the Kentucky holler for a relatively chill life in Miami, where he's raising a teenager, but a chance encounter sends him to Detroit, where he crossed paths with a slippery sociopath. Just the kind that Justified fans are used to seeing him outsmart and ultimately deliver to justice.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I'm in. I love Justified. And I'm Timothy Oliphant, any show where he wears a hat, I'm pretty much in on that. He was in The Mandalorian.
He was in The Mandalorian. He was in Deadwood.
Yeah, Deadwood. Another great role for him.
To be honest, he might have been the best part of Scream 2.
I can hear that.
That's way back.
I can see that. I can see that.
So,
yeah, I'm a fan.
He was also in The Crazies.
Oh yeah, he was.
And he's been.
So yeah, typically speaking, if he's in it, I'm gonna watch it. He's he's good at what he does. He's definitely good at what he does. He knows how to play complicated people.
He does.
DJ, I know you don't have any kids in the house anymore.
Praise the Lord.
You probably have not watched Encanto.
Nope. I saw Rango
Oh, and he
for the first time, like a couple months ago.
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant narrated Rango.
Oh, I didn't realize that was
Yeah.
him.
How old is Rango?
It's old.
Yeah,
I just saw Rango for the first time.
that. Might have
That
come
was
out
so random.
10 years
Well,
ago.
I had Nick Marco's kids at my house. I was babysitting for the weekend. Had them for a whole weekend, and I watched Rango.
All right.
Like Johnny Depp's been canceled for a while.
He's canceled?
Yeah, I don't know.
What'd he do?
Well, his wife said he was abusive. He said she was abusive. It's a big thing.
Okay, my
Yeah.
bad. I missed that whole saga.
He lost out on his Fantastic Beast role.
You stole my book.
Didn't she
That's all
like
I
sling poo at him or something?
That was reported in the courtroom.
You stole my story. Did you ever watch Secret Window with Johnny
Yes.
Depp? You stole my story.
So that was Amber Heard. I mean, who's very attractive. Apparently, she slung her poo at Johnny Depp.
And then everybody should have at least one Bobby Knight moment.
I mean, that's more. That's not Bobby Knight. That's crazy. Like, there was a
okay.
football player I remember hearing like would poo in bags and leave them on dressers and stuff
Yeah.
as pranks.
Yeah.
Like at KU.
That's disgusting, bro. I don't care if you're slinging it, you're putting it in the bag, or if you're wiping your behind and showing me it in the Kleenex. There's different levels and degrees of disgusting, but it's all disgusting. And that's what Bobby Knight did.
June Henley was about that game.
He was
I
like,
guess.
"This is how you guys are playing," and he came out and showed them all the toilet paper.
But yeah,
You're disgusting.
So there was poo throwing. That's about the time I stopped paying attention. I'm like, I don't want to know any more about that. That's crazy.
So Johnny Depp is canceled.
Anyways,
Everybody I
Encanto-
like gets canceled.
Encanto's We Don't Talk About Bruno is tied with Aladdin's A Whole New World as the all-time highest charting song from a Disney animated movie.
Who's singing what? Encanto's, who's singing it?
It's like everybody.
Everybody's singing
Yeah.
We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Uh-huh.
No.
Number one on the Billboard charts.
Who's what? Okay, so all these different singers are singing, or everybody in the show is singing it?
Everybody
Everyone
on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this
You'd
is
have
the
to
number
see the
one
movie.
And this is the number one song right now.
It is.
I didn't have a clue.
A Whole New World. I didn't know it was number one back in the day. But
Peebo Bryson, is that Peebo Bryson? No.
performed by Brad Kane and Leah
Oh.
Salon. Well, you're thinking of like the radio version,
Oh,
so not the cartoon version.
because isn't there like a? Yeah. No, maybe I'm thinking of.
But it might have been.
What's that show with the mice?
That might have been Peebo Bryson.
What about the one with the mice and Fievel?
Oh, yeah.
And what was it? And they were singing
An American Tale.
Yeah, American Tale. There's a song from that was really popular. I think Peebo Bryson sang that.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Out
yes.
there.
With love. Yes. Man, you killed that, bro.
Yeah, I know, right?
Nailed it.
Dude, that
Man.
always made me cry, that part.
Man.
Even as a kid.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
That's one of my favorite recreated scenes in Community. When
We are all over the place.
I love when I come on your show for this reason. Anything that I do with you, Dave and Cody, you guys just kind of, there's no rails.
We're going to
Yes.
end the news segment now because this is like the longer news just kind of.
He had 8 more things, but we didn't.
Oh,
kill
yeah.
them.
I'm skipping a bunch
yeah.
of things because this is just what will continue to happen. It's too.
Yes,
It's
I'm
too
sorry.
all encompassing.
You knew that when you brought me on here, though.
We need to narrow it down.
Okay.
So we've got a new segment
focus.
coming up right now. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to the lobby.
I thought we didn't have sponsors, so we're taking breaks right on. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. We're going to take a break, and then we're going, let's go out to the lobby where you asked questions. We're going to go out to the lobby and answer your questions right now. We're going to take a break, going out to the lobby. Here we go. Okay. Welcome back. We are in the lobby. A new segment here on Pop Culture Pastor. Are you not excited, Cody?
I am super excited. I'm just trying to contain it.
I just don't know what to do with my hands. I have no clue what's going on. I don't know.
It's Dave and Cody and DJ's here, of course, and we're getting ready to answer your questions. Josie from Springfield, Missouri.
Oh.
She wants to know if we ship Tom Holland and Zendaya. Shipping, see, Cody, shipping is what the youth say. Like, are you for their coupling?
Yes.
I guess. They're what would you call it? Their boyfriend, girlfriendness. Are you shipping them?
I sign off on it, but what's their celebrity name? There used to be Brangelina.
Oh, that's tough. Their names don't go together.
Their
well.
names don't, and that's my issue.
Tom Daya. They are adorable, but sure, I don't know.
Zinam.
I don't know that I've ever shipped anybody, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's a weird thing. I'm aware that this is a thing, but I don't know that I've ever done that because I don't really. I guess what I don't understand is young people is why we have a stake in it.
but we've had a stake in it.
I know people have. I didn't understand it when like Brad Pitt broke up with Jennifer Aniston either, and people got upset.
Or my first one was Brooke Shields and Michael Jackson. I don't know why that was a big deal to me.
I forgot about that.
I did not know about
Yes,
that.
that was.
I'm going to go in the back and think about some things. I got to think about that one for a while.
Yeah. And so I remember when Brooke Shields and Michael Jackson were going all the award shows together, and they were dating, and I remember having some type of emotional investment in that relationship.
Well,
But I was like 7.
Let's get to the bottom of this. What, like, you were wanting it to work out?
Yeah, I remember as a kid seeing them together, and then it got weird because Michael Jackson started going to these music awards with Webster. Then it kind of got weird. He went
no,
Shields to Webster, but Michael Jackson and Brooke Shields were a thing, and a lot of people try to say that was his beard, but yeah.
So who do the kids ship now? They ship Tom Holland and they Machine Gun Kelly and
Megan
Fox. They're just weird. I don't know if I would ship that. It feels weird to say shipping things. I feel like I'm mailing something.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to attempt to say because I don't want to be nobody accusing me of anything.
You got to be careful. Got to enunciate.
So yeah, my seal of approval is on that relationship.
Okay, there you go, Josie.
Yeah.
Jason Giesemann,
I'm familiar with him.
who there's
yeah,
a
that
picture
was
of
a
Brooke
real
Shields
thing.
and Michael Jackson. There you go. DJ was doing some work on his pad over there. Jason Giesemann, who's been a guest host on this show, said, "Who is your favorite guest host and why is it me?" Thanks for taking part in our questioning, Jason.
J Train, we love you.
Yeah.
I don't even know who he is, but I gave him a nickname. I just gave him a nickname and told him I loved him. So
He gave me a T-shirt.
He did.
If you give me a T-shirt, I don't care what it has on it. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. He gave me a T-shirt
make a
as
task
well.
note right now. Order Cody a Confederate flag.
Oh my goodness.
I'm making a note right now.
I thought you were going to gift me a First Baptist Church T-shirt. I'd wear it to church on Sunday.
This paid for by First Baptist Church. No, they didn't give us any money. Kyle Kessinger from Lawrence. He wants to know if DC Comics had a successful DCEU, like a successful movie franchise like Marvel.
Okay.
What big story would you have it follow? And this has got to be a question for Cody because I don't know.
This
that
is
I'm
a
fan
great
enough.
question.
A DJ maybe too.
This is okay. Say it again. Say it one
I'll
more
say
time.
it again.
Let me
more
hear it
time.
one
If
more time.
DC Comics had a successful DCEU, a successful movie franchise,
Yes.
what big story? So, like the MCU's big story of the first 20 movies was the Infinity
Yes.
War stuff.
Yes.
What big story would you have it follow?
So I feel that the story that's about to drop if they would have prolonged it, it would have been so much better. But Flashpoint, build up to Flashpoint.
Okay.
Where you have all the heroes gathered around and the Flash messes everything up, but you have to develop all those heroes first, and then Flash goes back to save his mom, and then all chaos, and you got the parallel dimensions and multiverse stuff happening, and so you could do that. They rushed it because,
but in that scenario, Flash would be your flagship guy. He'd be your Iron Man, right?
Yeah,
you'd have to base it around him in a way.
Which I think that DC has a Batman Superman problem.
That's why I think they should do the Kingdom Come for Batman.
Okay, I do love the Kingdom Come story as well.
I think that storyline is, I'm almost going to call DCF and say, charge DC with neglect. That's how I feel. They are neglecting.
I was wondering where that was going.
Yes.
I want to call somebody and say, we need to hotline them for this, because Kingdom Come is awesome.
Yeah. It's a great comic book story.
When they announced that Ben Affleck was going to be Batman, he would have been a perfect Kingdom Come Batman.
Who would play Lex Luthor though?
Well,
because that's the whole key to the whole thing. Lex Luthor is this Vince McMahon type.
Well, okay.
That you have to make, he has to be so hateable.
You'd have to change his character a little bit from the Kingdom Come version. But I recently rewatched Superman Returns. And that is better than you remember it. Especially compared to Man of Steel, I think. Superman Returns, other than Brandon Routh, is not quite capable. He's not Christopher Reeve, basically. And he's trying to be Christopher Reeve. But Kevin Spacey was awfully good in that movie as Lex Luthor.
I was going to say Kevin Spacey,
but he's got issues.
He's gone.
Yeah, you can't cast him now.
I thought,
what about the guy from Gladiator?
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe?
No, the actual evil guy.
Oh, Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Well, he's like the weird
Joker.
alternate Joker now, though, right?
He's Joker.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
What about Bryan Cranston?
Ooh.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
guy.
I might be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has some range.
Yeah, he does have some range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see it. No, not the dude from The Social Network. Not the dude that was Lex Luthor in Batman versus Superman.
No.
What a terrible casting choice that was.
Although I like Jesse and like almost everything else he's ever been in.
Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville would have been a better Lex Luthor than that.
Ouch.
Whoa. Smallville slander?
Yeah.
What do you mean, ouch?
Otherwise, I think another good storyline that you could build around, and it would involve another older Batman, would be Nightfall, where he has to run the gauntlet because Bane releases all the villains out of Arkham, and they don't know who Bane is or what Bane's about.
Isn't that just a Batman story?
It is, but Batman gets broken, and then you have everyone else launch from there.
Oh, okay. I see.
And it takes forever for Batman to come back. Like, I think you could adapt it. I'm not saying you take it like verbatim, but you adapt
The other one I remember reading, and you can refresh me. I haven't read it since I was like 12, but Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a story.
And so I thought Flashpoint had a tie to Crisis.
Yes.
Is that true? That's what I thought.
So I thought you couldn't do Flashpoint without telling the Crisis
Okay,
story.
my
Or
bad.
am I wrong?
My bad.
Am I not remembering that right?
My bad.
I'm not sure.
I
They're
think
really
you're
close,
correct.
if not.
They're
really close, if not.
I'd have to
But
read
Flashpoint happens later. Crisis happens like in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool to put them together. You could pull that off. It wouldn't be so hard.
I don't know.
What do you?
I don't have enough DC
What is the
fandom.
problem with DC? What do you think
So I think that
They're not patient.
the Dark Knight trilogy, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Like, relaunches, I would say, the whole comic book movie genre.
Yeah, I agree.
And lets Marvel develop.
Yeah.
DC then is like, well, we need a universe because Marvel has a universe, and
Yeah.
Nolan just closed the whole chapter or the whole book on Batman.
Well, hold on. Don't forget, there's something out of order there. Man of Steel comes out before DC says we need a universe, and that's where they mess up, because Man of Steel, while the last third of it is junk. The last third of Man of Steel's
It
junk.
was so hard. It was such a build up.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
He's so out of character there. But you could have still built on that instead of, like, I thought, so they said we need a universe to catch up with Marvel. And they immediately start talking about Batman and Superman team-ups and the Justice League. I'm like, whoa. Make Man of Steel 2.
Yeah.
And then get back to make another hero and then another hero and then get to the Justice League.
Yeah, they jumped directly to, we got to team up and save the world, instead of let's develop some characters, let you get some like feels for Cyborg, because we're just randomly throwing in this robot dude.
Yeah.
Too much greed and too much impatience.
Yeah.
As much as I really like
DC's in the same situation as the WWE.
That's a good one.
They're not finishing. They don't finish well. And the WWE's in the same boat right now. There are so many beefs and storylines that they get impatient with, and they take the easy road out. And then you go with AEW, they're actually taking their time in their storytelling and trusting that people still care about storytelling.
Yeah.
And the WWE is just no longer has the ability to tell good stories.
We're a long ways from the days of the late 90s where WCW took the stories and just ran them into the ground.
Well,
Right?
well, the WCW had management issues, and so they were making finance. WWE,
But they played the stories out and then some, and then
Yeah.
it was like, okay, so do something different.
Yeah. Well, the wrestling world comes from a thing called the carnival world. The carnies, the wrestling and carnival used to go together, and there's a thing in the carnival world called kayfabe, and that's this thing that you do where people have to know what's real and what's not. Is the guy really lifting 500 pounds? And how come he can lift and he's super skinny? And then you come over to try to lift it and you can't budge it. But and so what is there a lever? It's called kayfabe. It's just an inability for you to know what's real and what's fake. Like I remember when Ric Flair faked a heart attack in the ring in WCW. We all thought it was real till.
Oh yeah, I thought that was real.
We thought that he did such a phenomenal job faking that. And then they take these real storylines like Hulk Hogan and Elizabeth, and they bring that. See, they brought all that to the ring. So when Elizabeth and Randy Macho Man Savage got married, they were actually divorced in real life when they got married in the ring. So they come up with these storylines based on real events, but are they? We don't know what's real. We don't know what's fake. And then it happens all the time in wrestling. There are sometimes a guy gets really hit. Brock Lesnar will get mad at you. He's hit people for real and giving people staples. And they call it sending you a receipt. You don't know what's real and what's fake. That's where you want to leave your audience with, I don't know. I can't figure out what's the real, what's going on here, what's really happening. They've lost that. So there's no, remember, because we really thought WCW was being taken over by these WWF.
The NWO.
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt real at the beginning.
Yeah. They sold out on it.
Did you come in to see WCW?
Yeah.
And so it's like, and they use their real names. They got away from all the comic book character stuff, except for the luchadors, which that's the history of luchadors.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, it was so real.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. Did you come to see WCW?
Okay.
And I think DC is struggling. They're rushing their storyline.
Good segue back.
Okay.
Oh, I said that was a good segue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
They're rushing their storyline and they don't finish. They don't finish well. I'll give Marvel knows they don't get some things right, but for the sake of the story, they finish.
Yeah.
And then we'll go back and go, okay, do we take this one out? Do we put this one in? Because what Disney is doing now with their subscription, where you can go watch the whole line straight through, it's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. Even the mediocre stuff, when you watch it within the narrative of the whole cinematic storyline, you can sit through it.
Well, that leads us to our next question very nicely, because the next question from Scott Patrick Dillon another former guest host,
friend of the podcast,
friend of the pod.
I love it.
He said, "What characters do we want in an MCU series? Characters we want in an MCU series that we haven't seen yet,
or haven't seen much of." Well, so for me, this like triggered one of the few things DC's done right recently. They did a Peacemaker series based off John Cena's character in Suicide Squad, and he got his own series, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah, you're a big fan. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Amazing. And John Cena's hilarious. Like, I didn't know that John Cena could be funny. Burn and honesty all at the same time. But for me, the character I would like to see a series about.
This is a Marvel character.
Marvel character.
Okay, I'm just checking DC guy.
Black Panther movie. M'Baku.
You want to see an M'Baku series?
I do.
Well, there's lots of rumors flying around that he's going to be the new Black Panther.
Well,
Because Letitia Wright may have lost it with her anti-vaccination stance. That's a rumor.
So
I'm not reporting that as
where
fact.
I lack, the area that I'm weak in with Marvel is Luke Cage. I still have to watch them.
That was a cool show.
And so Luke Cage I know the comic, but I haven't watched the show. So I don't know what they've introduced through that show, because there's a lot of cool comics based on Luke Cage where there are characters that like Blue Marvel. Like, there are some cool characters out there that I haven't got a lot of press, and I don't know if they've done anything with that. There's some offshoots that I haven't seen that I don't know if they've done anything with Blue Marvel yet.
No.
They haven't. But Blue Marvel is a bad dude, bro. Like, of all of the superheroes that are African American, that's Blue Marvel. You ain't running up on him.
I'll tell you
running
what.
up on Blue Marvel, dog. I'm just telling you.
They'll probably bring Luke Cage into the MCU at some point, but he won't be anything like the Netflix one. I'll tell you where the Netflix series don't get credit for is they tried to do something that was like true to like so what they did with Luke Cage was they made it like a blaxploitation flick.
Oh,
Remember, like the old Foxy Browns and Shaft, and they made it very much in that vein. It's in Harlem, and it just has that feel about it, man. It was just so. Especially if we are old enough to remember seeing those movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course they kind of make fun of it, and I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yeah,
if you remember that.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, so funny.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
But yeah, like so they really tried to make something that was almost too unique for people.
Got you.
Because like I think people didn't appreciate the Luke Cage series.
I didn't watch it. I have it to watch. I just haven't had a chance.
So
you'll like it. I think you'll like it.
Okay.
I think Luke Cage out of the Netflix series was probably my second favorite.
Oh no,
maybe third.
I enjoyed it, but Daredevil and Punisher were just the two big ones for me from Netflix.
Yeah. And the first season of Jessica Jones I really, really liked, but the second season I thought it went downhill.
Yeah. So you said
M'Baku, just because like you have like this whole separate tribe that's like off on their own, that like he fought for the Black Panther crown, lost it.
Yeah, he lost
and like his tribe's not getting all that Wakanda like technology and stuff. I mean,
yeah, they're the mountain crew.
Yeah, they're a whole different like ball game, and it would be cool to know more about him and that area.
So they did announce that they were doing a series called Wakanda Forever. I think it's the same as or something of Wakanda.
Yeah.
So like I bet that's coming. Maybe not in M'Baku though. Because I think he's going to be a movie. I think he's going to be the next Black Panther from everything I've heard. Which I'm not sure how I feel about it, but okay.
I like that actor.
I like Winston Duke, yeah. But I'm not sure I like that character being part of it. It just makes me sad because I wanted more T'Challa.
Yes. And they killed off Killmonger.
Yeah.
So you can't have that unless you have some weird.
So I just pulled up Blue Marvel's strengths.
I'm excited.
I want you guys to hear this. He has superhuman strength, okay? So like he can lift. Then one comic, he catches an aircraft, like it's going, he just reaches out and stops it. He's got the nigh invulnerability, so he can withstand tremendous impact forces like nuclear bombs.
Does he have a picture?
And then he could be exposed to terrible amounts of temperature, and so he's able to endure physical trauma. He can fly. Okay, he has enhanced mental perception, so he's able to sense and comprehend things at levels that far exceed human capabilities. He has energy generation, so he's able to somehow generate energy with antimatter that can equate to the amount of an atomic bomb. He has molecular manipulation. Okay, he has bioluminescence. He has longevity, and he's a trained combatant because he was in the U.S. Marines, and he played football as a fullback at Cornell University. He is one of the most intriguing characters that they have not done anything with it. I think he's like the Black Superman.
I was going to say, he sounds like Superman, but on steroids almost.
Well, I will say.
So I just want to throw him out there to all your listeners.
He looks like a bad man pajama.
Yes, I told you. That's a bad. I try to tell you.
First of all, Scott, who asked that question, never in a million years would have guessed Blue Marvel. Would have been one of the characters. Secondly, you're right, DJ. There's a treasure trove of characters from those old Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Power Incorporated comics that they could have
that they can play with.
Yeah, the heroes for hire.
Yeah, and I hope that if they ever bring Blue Marvel out, because here's the thing, they've changed some of these characters right to fit some of these cultural narratives that we're trying to do, some of these things. And you don't have to. You've already got Black superheroes that are awesome. Could you imagine just out of the blue if Blue Marvel just shows them, you guys need some help? Oh, I will literally jump through I will ascend. It would be like the rapture has taken place. I'm going to glory. It would be bad. I would.
It would have made just as much sense as like Captain Marvel just randomly showing up at the end of Endgame.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
So Punisher would have been one of mine for sure. One of the ones we've kind of already seen, although not in the MCU. We saw on Netflix. John Bernthal was great.
So let me ask you
great
this:
as the Punisher.
If you put it in the MCU, what are you doing? What would be one of the first things you would do?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I throw him in with a bunch of heroes.
Okay.
I think I still just want Punisher stories.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I just want him in that world.
And don't you love
that he'll occasionally.
Don't you love that Marvel does that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
I would. Yeah. I'd love to just see him with his own series, where every odd episode, occasionally he'd cross paths with someone who didn't approve, right?
Yeah, yeah, like Ant-Man or somebody.
Some of the Punisher's best stories in the comic books are when he comes across Captain America. Because in Captain America, you have the Boy Scout who would not approve of Frank Castle's tendencies.
No.
But here's the rub. Frank Castle, ex-military man, idolizes Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
But he's broken, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was always cool in the comics when they would get together.
I'm with you.
Because the dynamic there is
into
interesting.
Like I would be cool to have like him just randomly come across Spider-Man, who is so naive and like boyish, and then you have
Punisher's first appearance is in a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah.
So that's not out of the realm of possibility.
That is not out of the realm of possibility.
And if Spider-Man, what that appears like in the MCU is Spider-Man's back to that street level hero.
That's what I want.
It's very possible because that's where he would run across the Punisher when he's dealing with street level crime and syndicates, the Kingpin, the mob,
Bet. And there's also a piece to this where you're going, okay, if we do this with the Punisher, it gives you the freedom. You don't have to stick very close to you can go wherever you want because it's not going to hurt the narrative.
Yeah.
So if you have an interaction, let's say the Punisher they reboot it and do a show on Netflix, and for 3 episodes you have Spider-Man there and they run into each other, that would be
poor Tom Holland. That's the only character that we've already kind of seen. Well, him but I'm saving the other one. Hercules. who is an Avenger.
He was on
yeah.
my list. Hercules was.
I didn't know you had some more.
No, I only had 2, and it was M'Baku and Hercules, and then the Inhumans.
Oh, okay.
That's a whole nother ball
Yeah,
game.
boy,
though.
you get
Hercules
lost.
was always one of my favorite Avengers. He's always around when Thor's kind of not available, right? Because you can't have too much power on the Avengers at one time. But Hercules was kind of different than Thor in that he was a little bit more uncouth.
Yeah.
He drank a lot in the comics.
I was say his morality. He had some morality.
A little bit looser morality. Another Avenger, Wonder Man.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about Wonder
I
Man.
did forget about him too.
Wonder Man would be great, and James Gunn wanted to use him for a cameo in one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and Marvel wouldn't let him.
Rude.
Which tells me they have future plans for him.
Oh.
Fingers crossed, because Wonder Man in the Marvel comics is an actor and a famous actor.
Yeah.
He's like a movie star.
Yeah.
And a superhero.
I don't remember if this ever happened, but I always wonder why Punisher and Iron Man didn't get have a cross.
Yeah.
Because them two egos together, I'd be interested to see. So, but you could do the same thing with Wonder Man.
Oh.
If you had
Oh, yeah.
somehow.
As far as conceitedness goes, nobody is on Wonder Man's level, which would be hilarious. Yeah,
Next
put him in
level.
anything.
Yeah,
put him in
next
anything. Captain Britain.
Okay.
Captain Britain, Brian Braddock,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
has a lot of ties to maybe the Black Knight and kind of the multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be a possibility. I won't get too much
Forgot
into
all
him.
about Captain Britain.
Because my all-time favorite, and the one they didn't do justice to on Netflix, Iron Fist. Man, I want a good Iron Fist. And Marvel has an interesting opportunity here because,
Who played Iron Fist? I'm blank. I
it
didn't
was
know
the
about
dude
that.
from Game of Thrones. I don't remember his name. Cody can look it up.
Cody can look it up.
He's, he was okay. Part of it was story.
I didn't even know that was out.
It just wasn't. You were getting the Netflix Iron Fist is very like
Finn Jones.
Finn Jones. He's very
Finn Jones.
He's very green. He's like it's early Iron Fist.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think that's if you're
So
gonna
they got
do
future things planned. Do you know?
well, Iron Fist is awesome. But I don't think they have any. There's no rumors out there. I just wish
Okay.
we could introduce him in the actual MCU. And what I was getting at was, most often we've talked about this. I'm not for changing the race of a character just for representation because I feel like it's disingenuous. But Marvel actually has an opportunity where it makes sense and it works for 2 characters that they could very well introduce to the MCU. One of them is Iron Fist. The big thing about Iron Fist was always, how come it's got to be a white guy? Oh,
Yeah.
a white guy's got to be the kung fu master, right? Because you had Shang-Chi, but Iron Fist, you could totally. The only important thing about Iron Fist is that he's American. Okay,
Yeah.
so make him an Asian American who doesn't know anything about where his ancestry is from, but make him totally American, and then have him play out the Danny Rand story.
Yeah.
Like I think that would totally work. And I'm for that. The other character is Logan, Wolverine. I think you could totally make him an indigenous Canadian and it just makes sense
Yeah.
because he's a character who's, aside from being a mutant, is just the underdog forever. And it just makes sense if he's an indigenous character that there's a reason he's the underdog, man. He feels that. Those are Iron Fist is a big one for me. I love Iron Fists, and I would love to see him in the MCU. Real MCU.
That's how I feel about the Arrow or Green Arrow in DC. I really like him.
Yeah.
And
They did. That was tough.
You said the DCEU has a Superman Batman problem. I think they have an Arrowverse problem.
that too, because for a while that was the only thing they really had going.
I think right. So they don't want to stop it, but I think if you want the movie series like Marvel has, you got to put an end to that alternate Arrowverse stuff.
Go straight with it's all movies or it's all HBO Max series.
Yeah. And then you can go back to TV for characters like the MCU did.
Yeah.
But like you got to end the Arrowverse. That stuff like what's his name is Green Arrow. I know people like that show. I couldn't stand it.
I think
even the early Flash was okay for me, but it's got annoying too.
I think after like season 3 of Arrow, it went on too long.
Yeah.
Because you have the flashbacks and you're like, oh, so this is how he like survived on the island, and oh, this is where he developed his skills to be fighting crime in the streets.
Yeah, my kids are still watching The Flash, and I don't even know what season they're on, but I see them watching it, and I sit down and watch a little bit of it. Like, this is rancid. This is so bad, so bad. Okay, that's all the questions we have for this week. Hey, we post the cue for this on our social media, on Facebook and Twitter. So if you're not following us, you need to follow us so you can give us the questions for the next episode for the new segment we call The Lobby. But it's time. It's over. We spent too long. Now we got to get out of the lobby.
Get out of the lobby.
Back into the pod room. So we'll take a break and be right back. We're going to talk documentaries. That's why we're here. 1 hour later.
I forgot why I was here.
We'll be right back. Okay, we're back with finally the main thrust of our podcast here this week. We are going to talk about our favorite documentaries. DJ, you are all about the documentaries. Why do you love documentaries?
I think it's the storytelling. I also, there's something about, like what we learned from Michael Jordan's Last Dance, is there's something about going back in time and looking at things that have been documented, especially when you have the original footage and the interviews and the transcripts, and how you felt back then and how you feel now, or when time has passed. There is some differentiation. And so Scotty and Michael are probably not going to be friends again because of that documentary.
Yeah.
And it's not just because Scotty...
Does Michael have friends?
It's not just because Scotty wasn't in it enough. It's now he's older, he's reflecting, and he's like, I should have been more appreciated.
Yeah.
And so there's something about time and maturity that, especially documentary that goes back into time and tells a story. Now we try to tell stories too fast.
Yeah.
You know how people always say, I want to be on the right side of history? You have no control over that.
No.
So it's very interesting for me to go back into time and listen to people talk about something that had happened. I love that type of storytelling.
I also really like, with several good documentaries, even with subjects that I think I know, like the amazement and shock that, oh, this happened and I didn't know.
Yeah.
I grew up with like the first three-peat and the second three-peat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all this was going on? I didn't know like half of that. And so, yes, like a good documentary will have, like, it'll capture all of that, all those things.
Yeah, I am. And then I also love storytelling. I love creative storytelling. I love a good story. I mean, even if it's just a verbal one, if you have a story, I want to hear it.
Well, and I think that's like what's lost on some people who maybe don't give documentaries a chance. Is they're like, it's to them, they equate it like, well, why would I don't like nonfiction. Why would I want to read a nonfiction book? I want fiction. But really, there's an art form to the documentary, to the way they construct it.
But when I feel like growing up, the only documentaries I was exposed to were educational documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't exposed to a lot of...
Well, we're in the golden age of documentaries now.
Yeah, I wasn't exposed to a lot of documentaries about... The only documentary... Can I say it? The only documentary I was exposed... The first documentary I ever watched was the Clinton Chronicles.
I remember...
So that was the type of... And so I didn't know what documentaries could do. And then I remember the first time I saw Bowling for Columbine.
Oh, yeah. That's another good one.
And it kind of raised I was like, whoa. And whether you like him
who's the guy that did
Michael
that?
Moore.
Michael Moore, yeah.
Whether you like him or not, he's a good storyteller. And he challenges the way that people think. And so you may not agree with everything he says, because people love making caricature. How do you say that?
Caricatures
Out of people. We love, especially people that we disagree with.
Yeah.
And so he will fall that way sometimes, but I still want to, just to watch the guy who played Moses, and he was the president of the NRA at the time. What's his name?
Charlton Heston.
Just to watch him and just this old grumpy man, and whether that's not who he is, that's somebody's grandpa, you know. Somebody loves him, and he was just, by the time that movie had come out, he's this old grumpy man. They go over to his house, and they confront him about guns. And he was, get off my porch. So it's one of those things where I love that. So that's what I value about the movie.
Like when I was growing up, so the History Channel is huge.
Yeah.
And so like you have like the JFK documentaries okay, so how did he really die?
Yeah.
Who did this? Like the conspiracy stuff, but then you also have like Camelot wasn't so perfect. And then like you get those sort of documentaries, but like you said, Dave, that we're in a much better age of documentaries and storytelling, and it doesn't even have to be famous situations.
That's what I was going to say, because with documentaries, you don't have to have one of the major platforms, and you can put it in the Sundance and it'll blow up.
Oh yeah.
And so even the Michael Jackson one was a very interesting documentary where the dancer comes out and tells people his story. The guy who danced and did the choreography for NSYNC, and very interesting. Not saying that I believe him.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, after I watched it, I kind of was like, but still, there's a story being told, and it makes you. There are nuances to Michael Jackson's story that says, even if he didn't do it, this is a broken man who has no clue the dynamics of family social life. Something happened. He's either a very broken man, something happened, or he's evil and he was hurting people. And without those documentaries, those conversations, we have nothing to go by. I can't wait to the one that comes out on Bill Cosby.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a point in time where documentaries really start emerging, because like you said, I don't remember. So I remember Ken Burns.
Yes.
The PBS ones, he did Civil War and baseball.
Yes.
He did a documentary on baseball.
Baseball one was good.
Really good.
I remember Michael Moore.
Yeah.
And really, you didn't hear a lot about documentaries outside of those. You knew that, like, you know, there was a category in the Academy Awards every year, but they just weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't as big as they are now. And then I'll start things off here with one of my favorites. In 1996, the one that turned a corner for me, and I thought, wow, I want to watch more documentaries if they're going to make them like this, was a documentary called When We Were Kings. Here's the description for it. On October 30th, 1974, perhaps the most famous heavyweight championship boxing match of all time took place in Kinshasa, Zaire, the rumble in the jungle between champion George Foreman and challenger Muhammad Ali. In historical footage and new interviews, this documentary explores the relationship between African Americans and the African continent during the Black Power era in terms of both popular culture and international politics, including the brutality of then dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. Came out in January 96. Here's what impressed me.
So did you watch it in 96 or did you watch it? See,
So I
watch
saw
that
it
till
way back
later.
then. And I can't even remember how. I just know we had, so in Lawrence, they had Liberty Hall, which was the place where all the like kind of indie movies went. And normally I don't think they would get documentaries, but this one made a big splash at Sundance or Cannes.
Yeah.
You know, one of those film festivals. And so they got it at Liberty Hall. And I remember I went and saw it on a whim. And this made $2.7 million at the box office, which is big for a documentary. Directed by Leon Gast, and it won the Academy Award that year for Best Documentary. I remember for me, it really awoke in me just a hunger to read as much as I could about Muhammad Ali. I remember directly after this, I read what would become one of my favorite books, nonfiction books. Is called Cassius Clay versus the United States of America, Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight, which basically told the story about kind of, you know, an unwilling, he really wasn't trying to be a leader in the civil rights movement.
No.
But that's kind of what he became, kind of on accident, fighting his own fight, right? Mm-hmm. Which was this fight of like him saying, I'm not going to go to Vietnam.
But he also really admired Malcolm X, and Malcolm X had his ear. Mm-hmm. So,
and that's talked about in this documentary quite a bit.
Ali, some of the teachings of Malcolm just would come out. He just really was enamored by Malcolm X.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about a documentary, and this was kind of my introduction to it, and for all that kind of stuff, this really focuses on just the Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah.
So you're after you're after all that. It's later in Muhammad's career, and he's the underdog here, which is not like his position to usually be. And it's all based around, so like the lead up to it, like the 30 days of lead up while they're there training. Don King, who's like, this is like his first promotion, big promotion. He puts on what is called the African Woodstock. That's what he called it. And so like all the best African-American singers and bands were there. James Brown, the Spinners, BB King. Yeah. It's just wonderful music in this documentary. I still have the soundtrack. It's in my iTunes. I love everything about it. And what I've learned from this that I now is present in all the documentaries I love with, are they as filmmakers able to put together the show to tell a story like you said, but to really transport you to this time and place. If they're telling a story about a time and place. And so this one, man, you feel like you're there. Lots of people in this movie that they interview, of course, including James Brown. Spike Lee is in this. Writers George Plimpton and who's the other guy? Norman Mailer. So they were big sports writers and writers at the time. George Foreman's, they get his thoughts in here too. Howard Cosell is in it. Just a lot of people, and it's a wonderful documentary. The only problem now is if you got to be able to find it. Can you find it? Because it's not easy to find, to watch. At one point it was on YouTube. I don't know if it still is, but if you get a chance, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Great documentary, great film. Not more than a great documentary. It's a great film. It's just great.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it takes you there. The music, one of the best soundtracks of all time.
And they blend the music so well in so that when they're telling the story of the fight, they're interspersing all this music to go with how the fight's going. And by the time the fight ends, and if you don't know what happens in the Rumble in the Jungle, it's kind of a shocking finish. If you don't know how it ends, and then they bring back this part of the music that had to do with like some like tribal thing with like a vaguely voodoo witch doctor-y feel to it. Yeah. And it was just like, I remember being like, I'm pumped up because that fight was amazing. Yeah. And I remember I used to watch this before I played like basketball games and stuff to get pumped up. Yeah. Wow. I love this. Yeah. And so that's my first documentary, When We Were Kings. Oscar winner, 1996.
Man, I'm trying to think my first documentary.
I couldn't name it.
I mean, I saw other ones in school and stuff, but this was the one that really sat with me. And I remember I bought it. It was one of the first DVDs I bought. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wish I still had that because DVDs are hard to come by too. It's probably worth something.
I didn't start watching documentaries and really getting into them until like 2010.
Yeah, well, I think that's most people.
Yeah.
I was really late to this party. Not a whole lot of value. And the ones that I watched were all conspiracy theorists. I used to be like, when I was in college, I was a hardcore New World Order, like in this...
Illuminati.
Yeah. And so most of the documentaries I watched were uncovering the government and how they are against us.
So you were really into the 9/11 stuff, weren't you?
No, not yet, but leading up to that. And then the 9/11 conspiracy didn't come out for a couple of years.
What was this? Had change. It had something about change. What was the big documentary they put out?
So I didn't really get to that one.
I watched that
by the time 9/11 happened, I'm coming down off of that.
Okay.
And I call him Leon. Leon is not allowed to come out. Leon hopefully is buried forever. Part of me becoming a believer has been like letting that go. So my first documentary experiences weren't anything interesting other than that quacky conspiracy theorist stuff. So when I finally started getting back to them, I was watching HBO. This is back when I had Dish. And there was a documentary on Basquiat. The artist from Harlem, I believe.
Oh yeah.
And it was just about I have no clue who he was. He was around in like the 70s. Did not know about this African-American artist. And they basically, and I mean, we're talking about a lot of pretentious Hollywood type, like Andy Warhol is like all over this show. This guy changed, his paintings were so innovative and way ahead of his time. And I don't know why, I just couldn't stop watching it. And so I watched that one. That was one of the first documentaries I watched. I'm like, man, that was kind of a cool little story of a person I didn't know who it was. And so then that's when, 2010 is where my documentary experience starts really coming into scene. So,
What was it, Cody? Do you remember the first one that really resonated with you?
No, not really. So the one that I'm going to list first is probably the earliest one I can remember streaming, because streaming had just become a bigger thing. And it is a documentary that came out in 2009, Tar Creek. And you might be like, I don't even know what that's about.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it wasn't a big production, but it has a 7.4 on IMDb. But they talk about the town of Pitcher, Oklahoma, which is in...
I know where Pitcher, Oklahoma is. I know a lot about Pitcher, Oklahoma.
Okay, so it's all about how it's a sinkhole and that everyone was forced to move
Out. I have seen that.
Say what now?
I have seen that.
Yeah.
And so
The whole
now it's
town?
like a ghost.
It's ghost town.
It's a
now.
ghost town now. Yeah, I have
Like
seen
there
that.
was an old lady that like refused to move, but like
I have seen that.
so they tell about how mining made the whole
Whole
town.
town just go. Yeah.
What's the name of this? I'm going to write
Tar
that down.
Creek.
yeah.
Creek.
And you can watch it for free online.
Yep.
But like the thing was, as I'm watching this, and this, it's probably in 2011, I'm going back and forth to seminary, and I have to go through Pitcher, Oklahoma, every trip. And the people that the church I was at, they talked about how there's rumors that those mines go clear to the outskirts of Joplin.
Absolutely.
And
What?
So I'm like, oh my goodness. And if you drive through Pitcher, there's like these huge
And there's
mounds.
bodies.
Yeah.
There. I'm telling you what I know. I mean, I know for a fact.
In the mines?
Yeah. Oh yeah, brother. Oh yeah, I know for a fact.
Wow.
There's a lot of missing people in a lot of small towns, even up in Kansas.
I was going to say in Columbus.
We're talking about Columbus, Baxter Springs.
They talk about
That
the
fell
strip
into these
pits.
mines?
There's yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of white supremacy faction in this area, and that's their go-to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this one was like, because
And the police, there are sheriffs and police chiefs, and this ain't Leon talking. I'm just telling you what the evidence is presenting. There are police officers in some of these towns that are in on this. A lot of meth running. This place is now a unofficial official cemetery for people who want to get rid of evidence and get rid of.
Wow. It's like the bus stop on Yellowstone.
it is. So I'm watching this and I'm like, and they talk about how like the creek that runs through it, the river Tar Creek, that it has so much lead poisoning that the kids that grew up there was higher rates of autism and lead poisoning and like a bunch of weird things. And I'm like, this is happening in America. This isn't like a third world country. Like this is literally 20 miles from where I'm working and living.
You know, that was something that was not lost on me when Flint was in the news. Flint, Michigan. And I know in our times, and DJ kind of spoke to this earlier, that the focus on that was that Flint was a mostly minority town, and that was the focus, and that it was just another example of racism. But you know, it's not convenient to say that mining's been doing that to many small white towns for a long time, poisoning the water table, you know. And it's not that I want to discount, like, is that a factor? Sure. Yeah. We didn't care because it was a mostly minority town. But the truth is, humans are awful and greedy, and they'll do that to anybody.
And I think that's the thing that comes out in all these documentaries.
Yeah.
Is ego, and if the 7 deadly sins are just so prevalent. So if you're watching Fire, and this guy's trying to put together this party that never gets. All of the deadly sins are there. You got avarice, and you got deceit, and you got pride, and all these things. I think for me, that's the other thing that documentaries do. And there's a lot of inappropriate documentaries. I wanted to say I kind of divided mine up in categories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see,
So I need to know how you guys want me to do this.
I thought about the Fire Festival documentary.
Yes.
But then I had to narrow it down to what I thought was really good filmmaking for a documentary, which I didn't include that one. I think the reason
I don't think it's like filming. I'm saying that you just look at
It was a very sensational story.
But hold
Yes.
on. Let me tell you why. I liked it. Because you know how sometimes like someone will be describing something as like it was like a slow motion train wreck. I couldn't take my eyes off it.
Yeah.
The Fire Festival itself,
Yeah.
it being documented in front of you, is like watching a slow motion train wreck with rich people on it.
But it's also also that sense of deception, social media, leveraging social media. I mean, there were people who were excited about this and thought it was going to happen. And this guy really thought he could pull it. I mean, if he pulls it off, he's a genius.
Oh, he was like, what would you even call that when someone's like in total, complete denial like that? That dude really thought he was pulling it off. And the whole time you're watching that, you're like, no, bro, this isn't going to work.
Well, I was afraid he was going to pull it off. I was watching because
And his poor old helper.
this happens more. This happens more than we want to admit, that somebody does something crazy and then all the pieces fall into place and they get called a genius. I think the thing that I am most disappointed with in life is when you start meeting people who are of the upper echelon and you sit at a table and you find out how non-genius they really are.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was what's going on there. There's so many things that we don't know that happened with Woodstock that fell into place.
Yeah.
That make them look like there's this thing going on that they did that was magnificent. So there's a lot of things that have to fall in place for this guy, but it wouldn't be the first time somebody's had this, what we would call impossible situation where things just fall into place and it happens and he looks like a genius.
Well, I could see that way of thinking because things get romanticized over time. So if he could have pulled it off even halfway,
Absolutely.
it probably would have been remembered as legendary.
Absolutely.
Because Woodstock was a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely.
For all intents and purposes.
The mud and the lack of toilets and the
But it's like-
amount of people who were raped and abused. I mean, it's the Hell's Angels finishes it off with stabbing people. And I mean,
but
there's
if you
so
were there,
much-
it's like a badge of honor. Like, I was there, good times.
So that's
And you're
my point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
He's keeping that in his mind, in my opinion. So I'm watching this going, is he really going to pull this off? This is junk. And he's going to pull it off with influencers. That's the other part of it, is that these people are selling things that they don't even know that it's real.
Yeah.
But you have influencers on Instagram telling people, I can't wait to go to Fire Festival because
Bieber's wife is one of them that promotes it.
All these people have to pull out.
Wow.
Yes. I mean, your boy Ja Rule, your boy.
I completely blacked out that he was a part of that.
Ja Rule is like really thinking this is going to happen. So that's
You're going to put it on me.
I wish I was DMX, but I'm not. So
I forgot he was a part of that. Man.
Okay.
I
so-
did not forget.
So I recently watched a documentary about the Night Stalker on Netflix. That mug is scary. Like they were trying to get you to feel what that LA community felt in those Hispanic neighborhoods. There were times I was watching that at night. Yo, that documentary is so, and then he was captured by the people. So it was very interesting how the Hispanic people handled that.
Yeah.
It was one of them. They didn't let him hide among them. They were like, they took him down and called the cops. And like, we got him, right? And like when you watch the end of it, when you watch the interviews, you're like, these people are proud. Like, yo, we told y'all he better not come down through here. And so it's like that documentary, I enjoyed how they make, and it's a Hispanic detective telling the story. And you feel it. Yeah. There's a scene where he hears something in his house and he's laying in bed with his wife and his kids, and he thinks that because the Night Stalker's in his neighborhood, they've had murders in his neighborhood, so he made his wife move with her parents, and he was living by himself because we have to get this guy. And you feel it if you watch it at nighttime by yourself. Oh my gosh, there were times where I was like, it gave me the EBGBs. It's like watching, it gave me the EBGBs. And so I thought that was a profound. I think it's cool that they made it scary because that's how the whole city of LA felt.
Yeah.
I don't like the scary.
I know you don't. But I think if you're doing that, if you're telling a story,
you have to.
Listen, I'm not denying they can't be good because I remember watching Don't F.
With cats.
Which my wife,
man,
that wasn't
early
scary to
on,
me. That was just like,
that
what?
one scared me.
It scared you?
She knew early on, like without much like storytelling happening. She's like, "Oh, it's the story of this guy," and I'm like,
"Well." See, I had never heard of the guy.
I hadn't heard of him either.
She studied him in class.
Yeah, I haven't heard of him.
So to me, it was scary. And then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, we got a real moral quandary.
Do we?
We do. We do. Because the dude is probably got the tools inside him that he's going to be a serial killer at some point.
Yeah.
But the two people who went like overboard on the investigating him kind of nudged him in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just kind of like, there's a moral issue here.
That's what that documentary is about.
That's what it is. Yeah. So
because you're going,
realize,
wait a minute, did we push him to this?
You don't realize it's about that until the end when they start talking about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm sitting there in my living room like, yeah, you absolutely did.
Dave is right. I can see Dave.
Although you abuse animals,
absolutely,
you are.
That's
a red flag.
Yeah, well,
that's the first because I did that growing up.
But it's old nature.
And so that's one of the first characteristics of being outside your mind. If you don't love creation, I'm not saying you got to be a cat lover, but I mean what he was doing was next level.
Yeah, but you got a nature versus nurture thing going on.
That's
there
true too. Yeah.
At its root, because yes, are the seeds in place for this dude to be psychotic? Sure.
Yeah.
But is he nudged in that direction in a sense? Because when they first start investigating him, he's just hurting animals.
Yes,
baby kittens, which they kind of
I hear
nudged him in that direction.
I hear you.
And I'm just like, not the kittens, man.
Yeah, so
I hear you, man. The whole Craigslist thing where you can meet people and then show up. I was speechless. I did not even know. I guess I didn't know about Craigslist enough. Like, and I don't do Facebook Marketplace. I don't know about these things.
How scary is that?
Absolutely, man. It's like, yo.
Like I'm walking into a situation with someone I have no idea who they are.
So the scary thing for me was just the fact my wife knew all about this case before they even like got 5 minutes into the episode. Something random was said, and she was like, "Oh, it's this case, and this is the person that dies."
But I will say, so you got that documentary, you got the Night Stalker. Then when you watch the Hotel Cecil,
I watched that one.
That has moments where you're like, "This is getting kind of scary."
Yeah.
There's moments in that one when you start getting scared because you don't know if it's like supernatural forces or what's going on. Because the way they tell the story, you don't know because that's supposed to be haunted.
A demonic possessed hotel, which like Ghost Adventures go there and like do.
And so you have you have the hotel, which is the nice part, and then you have that low income / so some of those floors are the hotel and some of the floors are this low income mental health. Me and my wife were watching it like, oh my goodness, this poor girl. And so that's another one that I think I just wanted to kind of throw out some ones that I thought were scary, just because it's very interesting that I can watch a documentary and feel that. I think that's amazing that you can make a movie or a documentary and make people feel like they are there.
Yeah.
Whether it be the one you said earlier or to make people feel what people were feeling. Like, it's just crazy. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. So yeah, I agree with you.
So one that goes with the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. Tell Me Who I Am.
Yeah.
So they're twins.
Yes.
One has a motorcycle accident.
Yes.
And it's amnesia.
Okay.
Yes.
And so this twin is confronted with, do I tell my brother what our childhood was really like?
Yeah.
Or do I paint
make
happy
up a story?
pictures
Yeah.
for him?
Yeah.
And oh my goodness.
And there's a book that I remember reading in college about that same kind of thing. What is that book? That movie? It was a movie made about Germany and the Jews, and he pretended like
It's a Beautiful Life.
yes,
Yeah.
there was no occupation going on
make his kid
to make his
believe,
kid.
yeah.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah, it's tough.
Like, the confronting of like when the brother finally is like, this doesn't click. This isn't right.
It was so endearing in the Beautiful Life movie, but it's not in this.
No,
it's like, oh
no.
gosh.
because then the brother's
So-
like, oh my goodness,
so-
like our mom did this and this and this to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it
Like,
was like he was living a total lie.
Yeah, it was. It's too bad. I mean, that part, you see where the train is going. It cannot stop. And you know everybody's going to die. And you're just going, this is sad.
heartbreaking.
Very heartbreaking. The other one about mental health that was interesting, and there's several of them on the sports side of things, but The Mind of Aaron Hernandez.
Oh,
and
yeah,
not
that
just
one.
because they're blaming concussion on it.
Yeah, the CTE
The
stuff.
CTE stuff, not just because of that, but the fact that he's a murderer playing in the play. What type of brain can kill somebody and then catch 3 touchdown passes?
And like,
And I mean, he wasn't just on the field. He's a high performer.
yeah.
And
Like him and Gronk are,
Yes.
like they're going to change the league.
That's
where
right.
All the teams are going to have
And
two
this
tight
dude,
ends.
so not even just you bringing up CTE or his sexual identity that also comes into that.
Yes.
Not even, if you take those off the table, just the fact that somebody can murder someone and then turn around and get on the largest stage of the most beloved sport in our nation and play in front of people and nobody
Well,
know that
That in and of
is
itself denotes that he's a sociopath.
yeah. I mean,
sure.
you're just
Like-
going
Like CTE or no.
The group that he's with in Florida, like when
Gosh.
he's in college.
gosh.
Like Tim Tebow's there, and then
Yes.
there's like a bunch of guys. You're like, oh no.
and that
It's
part
crazy
of it,
to think of
that,
him and Tim Tebow on the same team.
That doesn't surprise me because I played college sports and that's the life of college sports. We don't get to hear, and Dave
Yes.
knows that, we don't get to hear everything that happened in the towers, and we don't want to know everything
Yeah.
that went on in Jayhawk Towers. But that part of it doesn't surprise me much. But so many people covered for him
oh yeah.
that bred. And here's the other thing that came out in that documentary that has nothing to do with mental health, but it's just interesting. When you play sports in the inner city, they won't let you be in a gang, especially if you have talent, because they see you as somebody who's going to get out. So the gangs actually protect you. Gangs will keep you from things. So that's why Allen Iverson had such a hard time. Be like, why can't he just let it go them his boys? Well, he doesn't make it without this protection. Okay.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose, Carmelo
loyal.
Anthony.
Yeah.
He's from Carmelo Anthony's from B-More. And he starts playing basketball at a high level, and you start getting protected by these gangs. A really good friend of mine that played for KU, and I just went playing. I guess he's not a really good friend of mine. Who was the guard that we used to have, Dave, in the about 15 years ago? Played in the NBA, got drafted by the Hornets. Then he didn't end up going, and he went back. I'll think of him in a second. Same kind of thing. He's from Chicago. Same kind of thing. Just protected because of
You're
basketball.
talking about Sharon Collins?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just see, I knew you would know. Protected just because of basketball. People don't understand that. So you have that going on. So here's this, but then these athletes become pro and they become fake thugs.
Yeah.
And so you have this real gangster killed by a fake. He's not a gangster. This dude grew up in Connecticut. Aaron
Yeah.
Hernandez is not a gangster. He had a tough life. His dad was tough, but he's no different than most of these dads in Chanute. He had a tough dad, but I mean, he just didn't have this gangster experience. But now he's this fake gangster running around with real gangster, and he flexes. Did you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
so it's a really it's sad that whole story is just sad.
You see, especially like once he gets in jail or starts serving time in prison, like his interactions with his wife, and even the suicide note, like he references a Savage Garden song.
Yeah.
When he's talking to his wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, hey, I know this song.
Is that not hardcore?
Yeah. He didn't use Ice Cube Predator. It's just like, you're not a thug. But he had bought in on this identity so much.
Yeah.
His behavior went downhill fast. So that's just a very interesting. The other one from a mental health standpoint is the one about the two girls called Audrey and Daisy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think every parent should watch that.
You are a documentary encyclopedia.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that every parent should watch that with their kids that's over the age, that's in high school. Because it's bullying, it's cyberbullying. You got this party, this girl gets drunk. They don't know if they just got her drunk or put something in her drink, and then they did a bunch of acts to her, and they recorded it, and then they started bullying her with those images.
Yeah.
And it becomes a hot mess. And the kids with parents with money and power don't get in trouble. The kids who are poor end up getting in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And so it's a football team, and they're being protected. So there's a lot of things going on there. And I think every parent should watch. I think every coach should watch it and really let their kids know that this is not. It's just very interesting how social media doesn't get cut off, and you can go home from school. See, when we were kids, you were bullied from 8 to 3, but you had a little Sabbath from 3 to 10. You had a 7-hour break. The bully didn't go home with you, but now because of cyber world and the fact that we think that it's a necessity, it's not just that it's a privilege. Social media is I can't live without it, is what people are now pretend to like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so because of that, kids are being bullied all day. Very interesting and very sad documentary.
And a documentary that kind of deals with mental health, but also deals with like the health of a community and culture. The OJ 30 for 30.
Okay, so I have that on my list.
Yeah, that was so good. Yeah.
And I think the OJ Simpson documentary, I don't know if it's that one. There's several of them.
Yeah, there's a couple.
The 30 for 30 was the one that was like a 6-parter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that one is probably the one that every one of these racial people that have their race identity in the front seat should watch it. Mm-hmm. Just because OJ, beloved by white people.
Yes, he gets over on his white identity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when it hits the fan, all of a sudden Black America takes this weird. And so Dave Chappelle's show where he does like the draft and the Wu-Tang Clan draft, and they trade Tiger Woods to do it, and they have all these different races. That's what you see happening. This is a real life thing though. Yeah. It's like the white people traded him to Black America after he got accused of that crime, and Black America embraced him. It was like the juice is us, and he didn't want anything to do with civil rights.
Nope.
He didn't want anything to do with any of that stuff.
Happens right after Rodney King.
Yes.
And so like that documentary series does a great job of giving you the historical context that is happening within LA at that time and within OJ, because it shows you that he is beloved. Like Naked Gun series, like all the white people are
the
laughing.
Hertz commercial where he's running through the airport.
That documentary is an extensive, so the first 3 episodes, they don't even get to the murder.
No.
It's like the first 3 episodes, they're just setting up to tell you this extensive story of a man who wasn't looking to be with his people. He was looking for new people.
But it's also...
He just didn't want to be a part of his people.
Yes, sir. Well, it's also this complicated thing about race that we act like it's just so simple.
Yeah,
we
right.
talk about racial identity and racism like it's just this simple thing. He was black and this person was white, and that's the end of it. It is so complicated when you start, and then you throw in money and you start throwing in access to country clubs. Like he was going to white only country clubs
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's one of the first prominent blacks that's with prominent white women in public, you know? And then his homeboy, Marcus Allen, was kind of the same way. They're all cut from the same cloth in that regards. They become this new version of an African American in America. And we sort of, if it wasn't for the OJ murder, we may not be where we're at today in regards to racial understanding.
Yeah.
I remember when he was declared not guilty, and I wasn't in the, I went to Coffeyville at this time. This is 96, I believe. I went to Coffeyville at this time, and there was this explosion come out of the student union, and all the football players and basketball players and track players, which are predominantly black, were like, we won. And I was like, what? They said, OJ's not guilty. And all the white people were mad. Like, I saw on CNN a lady's like on a jog and like, we want to ask about the OJ Simpson case. And she's like, I just can't. I just can't do it. I'm like, what is going on? Like, white people are like, we can't believe this happened. And black people are like, we won. We got away with murder. Yeah. And I'm like, finally. And I was like,
I think that was the part that killed me.
Yes,
that was
you're
the
like-
part that, well, because it's not like black people believed he was innocent.
no. It's like we finally, you know, the history of America and all the court cases, Emmett Till being the most prevalent one, and Rodney King, where it seems like it doesn't matter how much evidence we present, they are going to get off. We know.
Yeah.
We know that it doesn't matter how much evidence presented, they're getting off. And now he couldn't wear the glove. And Johnny Cochran became the king. And it was just a strange time. I remember sitting there, and I remember we had everybody's dorms when I was in college. And so you had the baseball players over here. And I went back to the baseball dorms, and they were just like mourning Nicole Simpson. Like they were mourning this verdict. Like, it's just never going to be the same again, DJ. I was like, you guys are. I'm so weird. I do not fit in.
I wonder what people, if you could go back in time right after that and say, within the next 15 years, OJ's going to get arrested.
Yeah.
And he's going to serve way longer.
For getting his own stuff back.
Way longer
He
than
got put in
anyone.
jail
For trying to be
getting
a tough guy.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
getting his stuff back. But
Yeah.
here's the other thing. If you watch The People versus OJ, which is a type of documentary, it's got acting in it, but it is a documentary. Who was the African-American guy that was with, what's her name? Not Janet Reed.
Chris Darden.
Okay, Chris Darden and her who had that relationship.
Marsha
yes.
Cross,
Marsha,
yeah. Is that her name?
Marsha, no.
Now, what was it? It's Marsha Clark.
Yeah, Marsha Clark.
yeah.
He tells her, do not put the racist guy on the stand, the LAPD guy.
Furman.
Do not put, and she's like, you think he's right? No, he's racist. And here's what I want to say though.
These names are burned into my psyche.
But here's what I want to say, and this might be too much for this podcast. I can't explain how I know when somebody's a racist. They may never give actual evidence. He knew that we know, bro, like you're true, like I'm your true black friend. Like, you know, like I'm not going to use the race card. But if I said to you, if I just named some random person that you love and said this person's a racist, and I didn't have any evidence from it, you would argue with me till you were red in the face and defend that person.
Yes.
And there's something, it's almost like, and I hate to use this example, it's the only one I can think of that's close to it, how gay people know when somebody else is gay.
Yeah.
Like they just know. they just know. They know who to hit on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right every single time, but Chris Darden knew that Furman do not, and that lost the case for them. He was absolutely right.
Yeah.
If Chris Rock said it the best, if Jerry Seinfeld is charged with double murder and the only person to find the evidence is a leader of the Nation of Islam, he's getting off.
Yeah.
Period. There's nothing to argue about. That's all we're going to say. Right. So the whole case is a weird type of what we discover about racism and racial issues and class issues, which this is also a class issue. If OJ was not rich, he'd be Orenthal James, the bus-killing murderer, and he'd be underneath the jail. It'd be over. There would be no case. So this is also about class. It's very complicated, and we try to pretend like
there's nuance.
It's not. Yeah, there's a ton of nuance.
I haven't thought about the OJ trial in a long time, but I remember when that trial was on, I was working at a convenience store in Lawrence, gas station, and I can remember the verdict that day came out like it was around noon or 1 o'clock. on like a weekday, and we had been watching you show. You know how the lottery has the TV.
Yeah.
Like we had
Dave
finagled it.
Yeah, I knew you would.
So we watched the whole trial.
Yeah.
At this gas station I worked at, because I was out of high school by this time.
Yeah, because we see this change on TV coming too now.
Well, it's like rush hour. So I think it was lunch hour, and people are sort of. And let me when that verdict, when they started to get everyone back in there and started going through the process, traffic stopped. We had 30 people in a gas station just watching this TV.
But because of OJ, if you historically, and you're a historic buff, and I don't know if you are, but
Somewhat.
Dave loves this type of stuff. We see this trend now where the news becomes the news. The sensation.
Yeah.
Who can make this most? Nancy Grace comes on the scene, 24-hour news cycles start happening. We see everything. I'm telling you guys, we don't give OJ's story enough. This story, OJ's story, changes. It changes cable TV. We start seeing 24-hour news cycles. We start doing court TV where we start taking cameras in the courtroom. We start having celebrity criminals like we've always had celebrity criminals, but now it's next level because we have all of this access to them.
Yeah, we've actually talked about this on another pod. So I would say the stuff we talked about cracks open the door to that life. So Desert Storm.
Yeah.
That cracks open the door, Baby Jessica.
Yeah.
And then OJ is what slams the door wide open.
Because remember, if you remember correctly, in June of 95, we're watching the Knicks and the Houston Rockets when that's interrupted. The most boring NBA championship series. It's like 72-68 final. And then they go to and it's a great pivot because the ratings are shot. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I have studied this thing down to the best of my ability. And I'm telling you, that OJ case is a pivotal. I think there'd be I won't say totally, it would be a different racial social climate without the OJ narrative.
Yeah.
And the Rodney King narrative. Right off the precipice of that, everything changes. Now, you made a statement earlier. You said crazy. What'd you say? What'd you call Aaron Hernandez?
He's a sociopath.
Well, his older brother has a documentary, and his name is Ted Bundy.
Yes.
And the Ted Bundy tapes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't know if he's going to get him to share, and he finally goes, well, how do you think you would have done it if you did it? Same OJ type question, and that's when he starts sharing. Oh, my gosh.
If you could, look, and everybody knew this. With OJ, it was obvious, and everyone made fun of it.
Yeah.
But, listen, if someone asks you as an alleged criminal, I believe you, you didn't do it. How would you have done it? And you can fill a book. You totally did it.
Yeah.
You totally did it.
OJ did write that book.
Yes,
though.
Yes, he absolutely wrote that book.
What's the Damon Wayans in his stand-up? He talks about OJ. He's like, did y'all see OJ's documentary? And he's like, OJ's like, as y'all can tell, I didn't kill him because I can't run anymore. I got arthritis in my hands. And somebody goes, OJ catch. And they throw this random football. And he dives in the bushes and catches it.
Yeah. The name of that book should be I Totally Did It, but if I had to do it over again, this is what I did. Because I made some mistakes.
So terrible. But same thing with Ted Bundy.
Yeah, the Ted Bundy documentary, the serial killer documentaries are huge. The Unabomber, in his own words.
Yeah.
That one
I forgot about that
blew
one.
my mind because he goes to Harvard.
Yeah, you're like, he's thought about this.
He's like the darker side of A Beautiful Mind,
And
right?
so he goes to Harvard, but he's also part of that 60s crowd where
it was okay to blow up stuff.
We're going to also do experiments on our students and not tell them what we're testing them with. And the government does an experiment with him as part of the study because they're like, we want the brightest minds.
Yeah.
And so him and his childhood's a little edgier, so he already has some trauma. And then you put the government experiment on top of it.
Yeah.
And then you hear his brother and sister-in-law talk about, oh, this sounds a lot like Ted Kaczynski, your brother.
Can we just take a time out for a second? Can we just take a time out and listen to what you just said? That the government, along with Big Pharma, I'm assuming, did an experiment on Americans. And that's not the only time that's happened, but trust them. They know everything. Why would they lie to you?
That's the whole point when you talk about African Americans and being vaccinated.
Yeah.
We have been
right.
experimenting.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
just don't trust. And the left couldn't
Experiments.
wrap their mind around it. The left, who typically can get blacks to do anything, could not figure out how to get black African Americans to get vaccinated because we're very skeptical of the trust in the government when it comes to needles and pills.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
and it goes all the way back to those experiments that were conducted in African American neighborhoods and what they did with water and things like that
When
are
you
documented.
you want to stretch that even farther, the Big Pharma has a terrible, extensive record with Africa itself, the continent.
Absolutely.
Oh, just atrocity.
And
after
South
atrocity.
America. And South America. It's just, so we haven't talked about cults yet. And there's several
there's so
documentaries.
many good ones.
Cults. So I also have a category called cults. And the best wild country
Oh, yeah.
is the wildest cult documentary in a long time. But you also have Bikram, which is this yoga teacher who takes yoga
That one is
to
amazing.
the next level.
Was that what
Yeah.
it was called?
Yeah, it's just named after him, Bikram. But Wild
that one is
Country
amazing.
is this. These people build their own city, and they go to Oregon. They go to No, what is it called? I can't think of the name of the city. It's
Yeah.
still there. They go like to Oregon, and if it wasn't for the Nike company,
That's Vikram, isn't it?
no,
That's
no,
the same
that's
guy?
the Bhagwan.
The Bhagwan.
Yes,
I get my
The Bhagwan.
Get them confused. My gurus.
Here, the guru, and he would say stuff like, "It is raining, you will be wet." Yeah, he's changing. He wasn't saying anything.
That entire documentary, I remember I keep thinking, I don't get it. What are these people seeing?
I
in
don't.
this dude?
Me and you were saying
I
the
don't
same thing.
understand.
Yeah.
Did you watch so Tiger King had season 1, season 2.
We
They
haven't even
had
mentioned
the
Tiger King.
the-
That's another category.
They have the spin-off
He's not a
about
cult.
Doc Antle.
Oh yeah.
And he is brought up in like this Yogaville that's in like Virginia, and it's like a cult, and like, but the leader of it, he combines a ton of religions, almost like a universalist Unitarian.
Oh.
But it ends up being more turning into a sex cult, even though they're all supposed to be abstinent.
I've seen it a million times, as always.
Yeah, it happens every time. Well, the thing that's funny about that documentary is that when they show up to town, Antelope, that's the name of the town.
Yeah.
Antelope, Oregon.
I think we should go. I think we should go. We wouldn't be the first to go. But what's funny is could you imagine if 12,000 people walked into our town dressed in maroon?
Well, that town was really small. Too.
Yes, but could you just
And they show them just walking around the roads.
Could you
Yeah,
imagine
man.
pumping your
You
gas?
think there was some like weird children of the corn stuff going on?
You couldn't help but be prejudiced. I don't care what anybody says. You would be prejudiced.
Oh yeah.
You would prejudge these people.
Yeah.
And then
Well, you'd be right.
Yeah.
They were nuts.
but they had geniuses helping them build this city. They had city planners and lawyers.
They built a real
Well,
city.
yes.
They built it.
So, like, I watched
Bhagwan.
the documentary about Waco after the
Okay.
miniseries.
Yes,
and
that's a
they
really good
had
one.
the first black lawyer to graduate from Harvard.
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
compound.
Yeah.
like
I'll say-
they have geniuses.
Yes.
In
Okay.
Yes.
these-
But I'm going to tell you a big difference between the Bhagwan and David Koresh.
Yeah.
David Koresh is brilliant, charismatic, like a bunch of things the
Yeah.
Bhagwan wasn't.
Yeah.
Like David Koresh had the whole Bible memorized.
Yes.
Could just quote it.
Yeah.
which
But
is
he would also
scary.
sleep with your daughter.
Yeah.
But he could charm you into thinking it was okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't
And
do
so-
it against your will.
So, and the government's only way in to save those kids was to make it about guns, which spurs Timothy McVeigh. They interviewed Timothy McVeigh in that documentary.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And he's sitting on there because he's mad about this because he's knowing they're making it about guns. And so it's amazing how the hardcore conservative didn't care what was going on in there. They just cared about this constitutional right.
Yeah.
So it makes it very interesting. But I have the Sundance Channel. Okay.
Yes.
App. And there's another one, same scenario thing we're talking about. It's not a cult, but it's called No One Saw a Thing. And it's about a dude who's a bully in this town, and he gets murdered by the community, and no one saw it.
They all don't talk.
So I'm pivoting to the documentaries that are closest to us. This one's in Missouri, like right outside of Kansas City.
All right.
Really small Missouri town. No one saw a thing. Then the Unsolved Mysteries documentary about the kid in Racine, Kansas.
Yes, that
which
one.
I go to that gym because Humboldt plays them in basketball every year. So that one was really scary.
My wife remembers when he went missing. Like I didn't remember.
I didn't know about it. Me neither.
And like that's not far away.
Oh, I forgot on the cult ones too. There's two more ones. There's the Jim Jones documentary.
The Jim Jones one. Oh my goodness.
And he has a basketball team, and the
Yes.
son is telling the story because he played on the Jim Jones international basketball team. That's the only reason why he was alive, because of basketball. So him and Allen Iverson is like, basketball saved our lives, man. So he started off almost like a civil rights movement. It was a kingdom thing.
And
I got nervous because some of the things he said, I was like, I said that before. It's scary.
Like he starts off in mainline Protestantism. He starts off
Richmond, Indiana,
as Disciples of Christ.
Yes.
Pastor.
When I watched it, I almost texted and said, "Yo, peoples, man, yo, people."
Because like in the Jonestown footage, they have something that has the DOC chalice on it. And I'm like,
buddy, yeah. What you doing, Tom? Where you going, Tom? Where you going?
This is the portion of the show where all the atheists look at us knowingly and nod their head like,
Yes.
yep.
We saw
got
that
you
one
pegged.
coming.
We got you pegged.
Well, there's also one more on there about the guy from Texas, Alamo. His last name is Tony Alamo, and he has a cult.
Oh yeah.
And that's an interesting story too.
You guys have watched way too many cult
And
documentaries.
then who's the group that has the compound that's up in the northwestern part of the United States that the government raids, and it is
Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City,
See.
and Waco are all connected.
Yeah.
Yes.
It started with Ruby Ridge, then Waco, and then Timothy McVeigh says, "I'm gonna make the government pay for this."
In fact, in the mini-series, Waco,
And
the
they-
Ruby Ridge, that story
a
is
fiasco.
told alongside
Yes,
it.
Yeah.
and the conspiracy theorists, that is their go-to. I know that from my conspiracy background, that is the go-to. When
Yeah.
you start talking about government overreach. And the hardest thing about governments and their corruptness is that you can obsess yourself with it, right? Like literally, it took the government to corrupt itself to end slavery. They had to break their constitution because the majority of Americans were okay with slavery, and they actually. And once that precedence is set, it changes the American government forever.
Yeah.
So you have this very good thing that's done by the government, but the price that we're paying for it, when states no longer are able to determine certain things, and you now lost your you're now to the point now where people don't even participate in local politics. All they talk about is national politics. My personal opinion is that goes all the way back to Lincoln's decision. And we see this local context and local power being taken away, and everything's more federal government oriented and centered. Good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And now we have this thing that's so big it couldn't change directions. It's got so much girth now.
It's the law of unintended consequences.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
It would have happened.
Yeah, eventually.
Always going to happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
It's why most civilizations, they don't last forever.
Yeah.
Even if you have a good civilization, it's going to break down because you can't avoid the law of unintended consequences.
Absolutely. So that's the cult portion of it's just so intriguing to me, the brokenness of people that are open to this fake messiahs
Yeah.
that come along. There's something about that. Now, from a racial documentary, we forgot to mention The Black Godfather,
Oh yeah.
which is the strangest, most unheard story. I did not know that man existed. Unbelievable story. Have you heard of him?
No.
He's one of the most famous. He just won. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just this year.
Yeah.
He went in with Jay-Z. It's a story of a man who is a higher up in music, and he's the one who gets all these black people contracts, and he's the one that's behind every major black star since 1945.
It's not Quincy Jones?
No.
Shocking.
Without him, there is no Quincy Jones.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
He's the reason why there is a Quincy Jones.
All right.
And it's called the Black. You should. I'm not going to tell you more about it. I'm not even going to tell you his name because you would love it. And then the most controversial one to me on Netflix that's about race, and I know there's the 13th Amendment and the one about the boys in Central Park and all that.
Yeah.
But the most controversial one to me is the racial divide.
Okay, I have not seen that.
That's
one.
the white woman who pretended to be black and she was the leader of the NCAA.
Oh yeah.
NAACP.
I remember the story.
And so there's a doc. I won't say anything about that. You should watch it. I think it's the most controversial one. I cannot believe.
Rachel Dolezal.
Thank you.
The
There you
one
go.
that I really liked and I learned a lot from, and it kind of shifted my perspective a little bit on Malcolm X was Who Killed Malcolm X.
Very good documentary.
Yeah, and
just the difficulty of wrapping your mind around the Nation of Islam.
oh yeah,
Like they're like 3/4 Muslim, maybe they're half Muslim.
yeah, it's
Just a very, and I have family members who are in the Nation of Islam, and my first roommate in college was in the Nation of Islam. Very difficult to wrap your mind around.
and
that.
it's weird because they even talk a little bit about Malcolm and Muhammad Ali,
Yeah,
and
because-
how Muhammad has a falling out with him.
They do. Well, Muhammad doesn't have a falling out with them.
it's-
Elijah Muhammad tells him,
Mohammedanism.
you no longer to talk. He's no longer
Yeah.
your brother.
You
So,
stop it right
Elijah,
here.
and so Islam, even regular Islam, I don't believe the Nation of Islam is Islam. They're like 33% maybe. It's a cult.
Yeah.
Islam's first thing is submission. We say surrender. Islam is submission. And Nation of Islam says the same thing. So you submit to, when I say submit to your leader, if your leader tells you not to talk to this person, you stop talking to him. That's how that works.
Oh, there was a documentary about a guy in Miami that was part of the Nation of Islam, got really big, and then like he broke away and made like his own sect and like built like this huge temple. And I want to say it's in Georgia. And like it turned out like he was like aliens are going to come back, and
Kind of like the group from California,
Yeah.
that cult. Remember that cult? They were all like
the
guy
Heaven's
was-
Gate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There's a documentary on that too.
I know far too many cults.
Now, the fact that the kid died in Lassine, and then you have the people up in Skidmore, Missouri, that they didn't tell on how, because this guy, the first time I saw the story on Skidmore, Missouri was on A&E's City Confidential. They did a story on it.
yeah.
That documentary is very intriguing about when is justice too far, because
Yeah.
they end up, they take the documentary and they go further with it. There was a black man that was killed in this city that they accused of rape, and they hung him in front of the whole city. So they start saying that this city is cursed, and there's like 3 or 4 unsolved murders where people took justice in their hand in this city. And so it's a very interesting documentary about when is too far, justice wise. Dave, am I
backwoods
taking
law.
up?
We
run out of time,
we
Dave.
have gone way over time. So we should
And
probably just like
there's so many more documentaries. I
Do
know
you
DJ
have a
has.
favorite documentary?
Okay, real quick. The one that makes me, I've only yelled at a couple. I actually yelled at one, Garth Brooks' documentary. He cries like 22 times, and I think I counted. So that was funny. That's probably the funniest one. I hate to say that out loud, but I will say one of my favorite ones is Untold Crimes and Penalties, about the hockey team where the mafia guy buys a 17-year-old.
That was
very
good.
Very good documentary. Also, I like the documentary where they abduct the little girl. And that is just
Abducted in plain sight. Yeah.
That is the craziest documentary. But the one that I just got, the Bob Ross story.
Yes.
What they did to Bob Ross makes me want to, I won't say what I want to do.
Yeah, like there was so many things within the Bob Ross.
We're talking
story.
Bob Ross.
And like that old lady.
Yes.
And I was like, oh.
And what was it about his vulnerability that he could not tell those people no? It's just so interesting.
Yeah, and then the son doesn't have any
He
rights.
he doesn't have any rights. He has, so he makes the documentary. So it just makes you, it broke your heart for
It
Bob
did.
Ross.
Wow.
It just breaks your heart. And again, we're back to capitalism.
Yeah.
And that's what the thing that I have no problem with capitalism. As a matter of fact, you can argue.
Wait, was Bob Ross making money?
Yeah.
Was
he
he?
ends up becoming franchised.
So,
But they use
starts
him.
making some, and he gets used.
He gets used.
Then he dies.
And I don't want to talk about too much because I want you to watch that.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, like
All right.
But if you are a Bob Ross fan,
I'll write it down. I've written down 3 already.
you will be so mad. The other thing I'd recommend is The Devil Next Door.
that's good.
The Devil Next Door is a
Yep.
good one. Wait, I may be getting that mixed up. Is that the one about the guy who killed his wife? Or is that the one about the guy from Germany that? wait. There's one. There's
They
one about
have
the guy.
similar titles.
Yes, the guy. I'm talking
This
about
is falling apart.
No, it's not. The guy from Germany that was accused of being a person who murdered Jews in the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And he was able to get to America, and they have to take him to Israel and try him again. That's very intriguing.
Yeah.
That is is it really him? You don't know. I mean, it got so bad, he was dying. They bring him in from Israel don't play is what I found out. Israel is not, you do not want to ever be charged in Israel. But it's still a very good story. So, but I'd have to say, Dave, if I had to pick a favorite documentary, I do not know. I don't know what I would pick. There's just, The Families is an intriguing documentary. The Amanda Knox documentary is just, if she didn't do it, she still should go to jail because she's so weird. She should just go to jail for being weird. The Murder Among Mormons, like even the Mormons.
Okay, so
have a
that one's on
scandal.
my list. The new Val
Yeah.
documentary
Yes.
about Val Kilmer.
Yeah, that's-
that one, like,
Yeah.
it'll make you
The
get
college
a little-
admissions scandal documentary.
That one's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
The
Yeah.
Keepers, that one was scary, kind of. That's dark. It's about a Catholic priest who was raping girls, molesting girls in this school, and they were trying to figure out where he was, and he ends up murdering a girl, and they're trying to figure out where. They're trying to solve this crime of murder, and there's a couple of scenes where they make it scary. Sorry, Dave, I don't have a favorite.
A very crazy documentary, The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Like, it's off the rails. Like, this
never heard
backwoods
of it.
family. Someone recommended it to my wife. Oh, it was her boss.
I feel like I'd be best friends with your wife, Cody. I'm not gonna say that. I've only seen her 2 times.
She's cool. That's why I married her.
Very good. You got good taste, bro.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, you watch it and you're like,
Oh, another good one is The Innocent Man with John Grisham.
yes.
That's in Oklahoma. That's another close
Yeah.
one. And wow, The Innocent Project, God bless them. God bless those people who fight for people who are in jail and who shouldn't be in jail.
Making a Murderer.
Making a murder. I saw it. It got too slow for me. Too much court.
So the end it picks up.
But Team Foxcatcher about the DuPonts. Did you watch that one?
No.
And the one about the guy who molested the kid at Penn State. And
The Jerry Sandusky.
paternity.
yeah,
Yeah.
that one's a very good one too.
Yeah.
One last one, Dave. I'll leave you with this one, Dave. Because there's just so many. Sam Cooke is a good one. The Social Dilemma is all right. The one about Robert Johnson, Dealt with the Crossroads, is a good one. Strong Island is another good one. That's about racism. The Sons of Sam, they think that there's more than one killer in New York City during that.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting one. All the Cocaine Cowboys are good ones.
Cocaine Cowboys.
The Cocaine
was
Cowboys.
Amazing.
Dave, that's right up your alley. You would enjoy those, Dave. Murder Mountain is
Yep.
not appropriate. None of these are appropriate.
None of 'em.
But Murder Mountain is about legal marijuana
Yes.
growth, and there's an actual place
And they
in
use
California called
Bigfoot
Murder Mountain.
as to scare off.
And they are gangsters, though. There's no law there. And that's a real story.
Yeah.
Like, I just cannot believe that's America. So,
Did you see Tricky Dick and the Man in
yes,
Black?
man.
That was a good one about
Good
Nixon
one.
and Johnny Cash.
Yeah, man, so good. And then you got Fear City about the New York City Mafia in the 70s. It's called Fear City. And we had one of the guys in that documentary here at the fire escape.
What?
Yeah, we had the mafia boss that got saved, and he goes around speaking. He was here. He spoke here.
Was I here?
Okay, I'm done.
Or was I gone?
Oh, how can we not mention Tread? Shred is the guy in Colorado whose city wouldn't let him.
Oh, yeah.
And he builds a tank and takes out the whole city. Oh man, these are so good. I'm sorry, Dave. Dave, remember you brought this on yourself.
I have completely lost control of this.
You
podcast.
have brought this on yourself. You asked for this.
I feel we need
We'll stop.
another part.
No, we don't. We'll just stop.
DJ, it's been lovely having you. You're never coming back. This is out of control. You guys can just keep going.
Dave, if you actually post this, I think I've done like 12 podcasts. Only 2 of them have ever been posted.
Listen, I'm posting this podcast. I thought about 20 minutes ago, I'm going to have to edit this. Now I'm just like, no way. I'm posting this for posterity.
For your tens of tens.
And there's going to be someone out there be like, man, you really hit your stride with that documentary pod. That was when you really found it, bro. Can I tell you guys my favorite documentary now?
Yes.
Or do I have to send in documentation to get the floor? Your Honor, I'd like to approach the bench. I feel like it doesn't even matter now. You guys were just going and going and going. And like I felt like it just could have kept going for.
How many podcasts have you done, Dave?
This is number 16.
And so what's the average hours of your podcast?
They're almost exclusively about an hour and 15
So
to
you've
an hour and 20
spoken
minutes.
for 16 hours. They've heard your voice. And I come on here one time. It's one episode.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'm not broken up about it. I'm just impressed. You guys have seen so many documentaries.
This is probably I would call this I'm not going to lie. Documentaries are a hobby for me. And I want to talk about them. I want to look up them. Very few documentaries have I watched where I didn't do the research. I didn't find out. And then if you get on Reddit, it's over. There's grenades and atomic bombs, and so it's like I won't lie. I'll be the first minute. This is how. If I'm not going to be in scripture and working on ministry, I'm going to be researching a documentary. I'll rewatch them and research them. So I may watch it one time. And then I'll say, DJ, research this, and I'll go back and watch it and pause it and try to find documents of my own. I want to look at the court case. I want to read the court file myself. I do all of that. Mm-hmm. It's just very intriguing to me.
My favorite documentary ever was made for HBO in 2020. It's recent, called Class Action Park. About Action Park in New Jersey back in the late 70s,
I messed
early
that
80s.
up. You told me to watch that. I'll watch it tonight.
Have you not seen that?
No, that was my fault.
You have seen all these documentaries and you have not watched Class Action Park.
You told me to watch that one.
Let me tell you why I love Class Action Park as a documentary. I told you about an hour and a half ago.
You just had to sneak that in.
That my favorite documentaries are the ones that just transport you to a different time and place. If you're younger than 30, 35, 30, you're going to watch Class Action Park and you're going to be like, this couldn't have happened. How could this have happened? Because basically it's about a theme park with no safety guidelines at all. The dude's coming up with crazy rides. Kids are getting hurt. Kids die at this park. And when I tell you, but the documentary itself is not played for like this tragic part of it. It's played for like all these people are reminiscing about the park, where they're actually, you can tell they're nostalgic and it makes them feel good to think about it. And when you watch it, if you're younger than that, you're going to be like, how did people live like this? This is just such a weird place. I was like, no, man, this was the 80s. Mm-hmm. We did stupid, dangerous things and our parents didn't really keep track of us.
Yeah.
We were just out there.
Yeah.
And this whole documentary just took me back to that time and made me feel nostalgic and good while also telling this story about this theme park that was just off the rails, lunatic. Now, we didn't have anything like that.
So do you have HBO?
Yeah. I might have to share it with you.
No, I have it.
You didn't hear that?
Oh, no. There's not a subscription.
There's a lot of static.
Not a subscription I don't have, but go ahead.
But yeah, the thing about, we didn't have Action Park because Action Park's legendary. But like all our stuff back then, even our water parks where you had to go down with like the little piece of foam, and if it slid away from you, you get all scratched up by the fiberglass slides and stuff. Like people were getting hurt all the time and stuff. It's just the way we lived, and everything about Class Action Park just transported me back to being a kid in the 80s. And it was while telling this kind of tragic, like, but so ridiculous. It ends up being kind of funny at parts. Because these now grown-ups, these like middle-aged people are sitting here talking about how much fun they had, almost dying, hitting their heads on things. And it's just everybody should watch that documentary. It's amazing.
I got it down. I'll watch it. I totally forgot.
96% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So, yeah, you better end it soon because you spurred on another documentary on my list that I forgot.
The HBO has the Dreamland documentary, which is really good, and it's about the burning of Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I would encourage everybody to watch that.
Yeah.
That's a really good.
Mine
they
was
also
Crip
have
Camp.
They also have What's My Name by Muhammad Ali, which is another really good documentary on HBO.
What was the one you said?
Crip Camp. It's about
I've seen it.
Basically this camp for kids with disabilities, and then it spurs like the whole ADA movement, the Americans with Disability Act. So
Okay.
Yeah, Dave, one thing, because you're a music fan, you have the Bird and Magic documentary, which is really good. But then there's one called 20 Feet from Stardom.
Okay.
And it's a movie. It's a documentary about background singers, the history of background singers in music, and how these amazing singers never make it to the center stage. And why do some people make it and why do some people not? And Sting is in it, and Paul McCartney's in it. And
Let me write that one down. What's the name of that one?
20 Feet from Stardom. It's on HBO. It's really, really good. All right, I'll stop. There's so many HBO ones that are good, but I'll just
HBO and Netflix really.
Sometimes HBO has an agenda, and I can't make it through all their documentaries, but they do have some good ones.
This has been the craziest pod we've ever done.
Why is it crazy? Because Dave didn't get to talk a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's just like it seemed frantic. It just seemed frantic.
Again, I think we'll
I like
have
to have civilized conversation.
We will have to have DJ back to discuss some of these in better detail, because like the Murder Among the Mormons one, like as a person of faith, there's so many components to it that I think that would help you understand what the early church went through and what, like, oh my goodness, like this would rock your world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
If you like our podcast, please give us a solid review on whatever platform you're listening on, and consider following us on Facebook and Twitter. You can communicate with us there. We ask you to ask us questions that we now feature on a new segment on the show called The Lobby. So
I wouldn't have me back if I was you guys. I'm being complete disclosure.
Thank you to Minister DJ Dangerfield for coming on. You really carried this pod, because I can't keep up. Like that's an amazing. Just the amount of documentaries you've seen is amazing.
Well, he said he had over 200.
The knowledge you've gleaned from that. I mean, it's not that you just said them. Oh, I saw that. No, you talked about all of them. Like you knew about them. It's amazing. I can't. Like that's crazy.
I can't wait till my friends listen to this, because they're going to die, because they all know this about me. It's so annoying. I can't help it.
The only thing I could quote to you that much would be like the movie Goonies, that I have a mastery of knowledge of, and maybe like Smallville, the first few seasons of Smallville, which I watched religiously.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. It's yeah. I won't lie. Yeah,
It was fun. It was fun.
maybe.
Everybody, I hope you enjoy it. It's our longest pod ever.
I'm moving in with Cody. That's what I decided.
All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Pop culture pastor.